This unfortunate loser squandered his best years obsessing over gothic women as if it were his profession. But when he was finally given a real opportunity in life, it was quickly taken away, and he was swiftly reincarnated. However, he didn't return as a skilled swordsman, a powerful demon lord, or even a humble slime. Instead, he was reborn as one of the most common creatures imaginable, a discount goldfish. Now, he must battle the terrifying creatures of the ocean to ascend the evolutionary ladder and finally meet the woman of his dreams. It all begins with Lin Hao. A young man, Lin Hao, sat on a bench, appearing lost in thought. Suddenly, a strange, red crackle split the sky, and to everyone's shock, it morphed into a massive monster that began to wreak havoc on the city. As chaos erupted and people ran for their lives, Lin Hao, with a delayed sense of alarm, realized the catastrophic danger of the creature spreading death and despair. Despite his girlfriend's attempts to call him, his attention was completely fixed on the monster. He knew he couldn't die here. This was the day he was finally going to see her after 3 long years. But the monster was indifferent and blasted the boy, crisping him instantly. In his final moments, he lay chaired on the shore, his main regret not being able to see his girl nearby. As it regained consciousness, the fish was shocked to see its own fins, and realized it had been turned into a koi. It was the same man from before, the photographer Lin Hao, now reincarnated as a tiny fish. Looking at his reflection, he recalled his death by the monster, and even remembered his girlfriend. He decided to swim around and explore his new surroundings. Just as he was pondering the limitations of his new form, he froze, spotting the reflection of sea crabs heading straight for him. Lin Hao managed to dodge them for a few moments, but fortunately there's always a bigger fish. The predators begin to devour each other, allowing the boy to hide inside a nearby tin can. He quickly realized how difficult survival would be in the predator-filled ocean. Just then, a system window popped up, notifying him that his leveling system had been successfully activated. With that, a stunning guide appeared, captivating Lin Hao's attention. As he was still processing the situation, she scooped him up and moved him to the much safer shallow waters. When he asked what was happening, the guide revealed she was his system, and promptly displayed his stats. His name was Lin Hao, and his current form was a low-level black koi. Wasting no time, Lin Hao asked how he could level up. According to the system, he needs to start eating. He quickly notices a breadcrumb and gains 0.1 evolution points after eating it. With this, Lin Hao realizes it isn't much, but it's honest work. After a while, exhausted from a whole day of devouring, he dozes off on a rock, but a sudden system notification jolts him away. It tells him he's earned 5 evolution points. He also notices the system's mermaid form watching him with an expression of he looks at a picture of her and Lin Hao inside. When she's heartbroken, saying they were so close to finally meeting again, and that Lin Hao had promised to wait for her return. Hearing his own name, Lin Hao freezes. He wonders if her husband also recently passed away, because she looks shattered. Suddenly, the watch slips from her hand, and sinks into the water. The other fish scatter as it drops, and losing that last memento of her love makes her break down even more. To his shock, the photo inside shows him and Luo Qiu. Realizing what this means, he panics, wondering what if his girl does something reckless. With that thought, he starts swimming toward the surface, calling out for her. But to his bad luck, she's already gone. This breaks Lin Hao down in tears, realizing he can't do anything if he can't even talk. Suddenly, he remembers the watch but quickly realizes it has fallen into the nightmare depths. Even though he knows it was their keepsake, he can't do anything about it since his levels are still trash. This infuriates him even more. They keep missing each other. Fueled by pure determination to meet her again, he starts taking down smaller fish, leveling up fast. The system, in its mermaid form, notices his willpower and is impressed. Suddenly, Lin Hao gets a notification. The evolution screen pops up, telling him he's earned enough points to evolve and asking if he wants to do it right now. Without hesitation, he accepts. A sudden surge of power hits him, and as he opens his eyes, he's shocked to see the mermaid system staring right at him, looking confused about why his leveling took so long. However, despite that, Lin Hao now feels stronger and bigger. But since he's still just a fish, his main lever is still tiny. He quickly checks his stats, which reveal he's now level 3 and has gained 2 new skills. The mermaid points out that one skill gives him a spell with a 10-second cooldown that makes his scales pretty sturdy. Impressed and wanting to test it out, he whips his tail at some nearby predators. It works, and using a combo of both skills, he begins his ascent. He even manages to fend off a large predator fish. Just then, he receives a quest with 2 options, a normal one that requires him to devour 100 shrimps, and a difficult one where he has to take down a mutated creature. Curious, Lin Hao asks if all this hunting has a point or an end goal. To this, the system hints at rewards far greater than just the quests. When Lin Hao presses further, she even mentions the possibility of him becoming human again. Hearing that, Lin Hao makes up his mind to retrieve his lost pocket watch. With determination, he rushes toward the deep sea. As he spots it, and sneaks closer, he is suddenly shocked, realizing there's a massive monster eel resting right beside it. The sight terrifies him, as it feels just like the encounter he had back in Lintian City. As he falls into despair, the mermaid guy drags him back. While being pulled along, our boy feels hopeless, remembering the good old times with his girlfriend. He recalls when she cooked him noodles and showed him love, but now she's nowhere to be seen. Lost in his thoughts, the guide points it out, but he brushes it off as nothing. Seeing through him, she summons a bubble and tells Lin Hao to work harder for what he desires. And since the only thing he desires is his girlfriend, our boy gets motivated again. Back to hunting, Lin Hao is surprised to find big snails. But when he tries to eat them, he can't even chew through the shells as they are way too hard. It's frustrating, but then he remembers the giant eel guarding the pocket watch and wonders how long it'll take for his next evolution. Meanwhile, somewhere else near the shore in Dongchuan City, Luoxu, Lin Hao's girlfriend, arrives in a military jeep. Outside on the shore, Luoxu's companion is shocked to see a massive monster dragon washed up. The scientists are equally confused, but Luoxu jumps out, shouting at them to evacuate and keep their distance as the monster could explode at any time. She reminds them of a past incident where a washed creature's body exploded on the shore. She knows it was from putrid gas caused by decomposition, but also that it was one of the deadliest bioweapons in the world. Putting on surgical gloves and a mask, she orders her men and the scientists to prepare a ventilation pipe. Saying this, she slits the monster's skin and inserts a testing pipe inside its body. However, to their shock, the readings start coming back with errors. Hearing that, Luoxu panics and orders everyone to run. They barely make it a few steps away before the monster suddenly explodes, sending blood splattering everywhere. Back in the water, our boy is still busy munching on crunchy shrimp. Despite them giving low evolution points, they're still better than the tiny fish and help him finish his quest. The system window pops up, confirming quest completion, and also gives him a normal treasure chest as a reward. The mermaid guide, seeing this, is shocked, and with his approval, she opens the treasure chest for him. To Lin Hao's surprise, he gets multiple enhancements to choose from, and he goes for razor-sharp teeth. The moment he picks it, the guide urges him to show her. Since all these perks are random, even as the system, she's excited to see the outcome. As the reward applies, Lin Hao starts feeling an intense itch in his mouth. And to his shock, he accidentally bites into a sail shell and manages to crush it in a single chomp. After that, he asks for the guide's opinion. He has no say in it, so he starts taking down the nearby fish and quickly realizes that the taste is awful. Thinking about the mutated creatures, he wonders if they're even in this water or if the quests are just generated randomly. Despite being the system, it is clueless, which makes Lin Hao wonder if those creatures are really in the same waters, and maybe even like the monster that killed him. As he's lost in thought, he suddenly feels eyes on him. But when he looks back, no one's there. While he's still processing it, two guys suddenly release tons of pluck of fish into the water. Lin Hao notices them, but before he can question what's going on, something big flashes past him. It's a monster eel charging straight toward the pluck of fish. Lin Hao's system starts blaring warnings of high danger levels, urging him to prepare for a fight. As the eel dives in, Lin Hao sees it as the perfect opportunity to take down his target. The eel now has an equal contender in the swarm of pleco fish, and while they're fighting, Lin Hao knows he can swoop in as the sneaky third party. While watching, he notices a small pleco fish sneaking up behind him, and quickly munches it down. Despite it being tough to swallow, Lin Hao is shocked to see it's worth 10 evolution points, which seems like a solid deal. But while Lin Hao is busy feasting, the gigantic eel finishes off the last pleco and finally locks its monstrous eyes on him. Lin Hao tries to keep calm, but notices an open wound on the eel's body. As the eel lunges for him, he dodges and hides among some nearby rocks. Annoyed, the eel starts pounding on the rocks, trying to flush him out, while Lin Hao hopes he'll just lose interest and go hunt something else. Still, that strange, uneasy feeling lingers. As the pounding doesn't stop, Lin Hao realizes he needs to act before he's crushed to death. He makes a desperate dash for his life, but to his bad luck, the eel snags him with its tongue. Struggling, he realizes this might be the end for him. In one last desperate attempt, he unleashes his offensive skill while thinking of his girlfriend, Luoxu, waiting for him. Meanwhile, on the shore, Luochu barely manages to escape the blast, protected by her subordinate shielding her from the falling debris. As things settle, she thanks him, only to freeze in shock when she notices that the monster left behind eggs scattered everywhere. She quickly orders weapons and reinforcements, declaring that they can't let those things crawl back into the ocean. As the military team arrives, they all start blasting away at the eggs. While the firefight is going on, her companion praises Captain Luo for her intelligence and athleticism. Meanwhile, back inside the eel's stomach, Lin Hao uses his head crystals to see. He knows he needs to get out fast if he wants to survive, and then he remembers the injury he saw on the creature's back. The problem is he needs to find that wound quickly, otherwise he's about to get digested into fish soup. Luckily, Lin Hao feels a bit confident thanks to his skills, and before long, he finds the wound. But to his surprise, it's already healing, because the eel's been munching on veggies. Pinpointing the exact spot, Lin Hao activates his hardened skills spell and charges straight at it. With that, he manages to tear his way out of the monster's body, leaving the eel screaming in pain as it retreats back into the depths. Lin Hao realizes that if it hadn't worked, he would have turned into eel poop by now. Catching his breath, he asks the guide if there's some kind of portal in the depths, since all these giant creatures keep coming from there, but she doesn't know why either. Leaving the mystery for later, Lin Hao focuses on the leftover smaller plecos and quickly wipes them out. Despite them tasting awful, he manages to rack up enough points for his next evolution, and accepts it. Checking his status, he sees he's now level 4 with new skills, and even a passive divine power. The guide is just as surprised by the evolution perks. To test them out, Lin Hao starts biting metal and other hard things, as if they were nothing. Even with that powerful passive, he feels a little down. He's still tiny compared to that massive eel. Suddenly, the system updates his quests, adding a couple of new normal ones while keeping the same difficult one. Reading through them, Lin Hao chooses the Devour 100 Plecas quest. While eating them, he's shocked to stumble across an empty pleca shell with a strange worm inside. As he stares at it, one of the worms suddenly zips out, attacks another fish nearby, and latches onto its eye, taking it down instantly. Seeing this, Lin Hao is left in disbelief. It really looks like the worm is eating the fish's brain. Curious, he asks the guide if he can eat it, but she just tells him to try. However, just as Lin Hao goes in for a bite, the worm slips away, annoying him. This makes him wonder if the thing came from the deep waters, since it definitely didn't seem like an ordinary creature. Lin Hao also knows that even in these so-called safe, shallow waters, he's barely surviving, so heading into the depths would be far too risky for now. Noticing him lost in thought, the guide pokes him back to reality, and he resumes hunting to level up so he can eventually retrieve the pocket watch. Meanwhile, on the shore, a mysterious ship is washed up. There's a body on it, but the cause of death looks strange. After investigating, the police question the lone survivor. According to him, they were attacked and killed by loachfish. The cops don't really believe him, but the terrified guy pleads with them, insisting it was the loaches that bit his friends apart and he was just too scared to react. However, the police notice something odd. Earlier he mentioned multiple victims, but they only found one body on the boat. This realization breaks him completely. In disbelief, he starts screaming like a madman, yelling that the cops didn't listen, and that they actually took one of the creatures home with them. His fear is so real that the police, unsettled, decide to escalate the case. They contact the Dragon Group, since this seems to be within their jurisdiction. Soon after, Luoqiu, an investigator for the group, arrives only to find an empty loach shell. She asks the survivor where they found it, and he mentions the restricted area by the coast. She then questions him about the missing bodies, and the police explain they're still investigating after finding a blood trail leading into the ocean. Hearing this, Luoqiu deduces that the mutated creature from the other day might have been infested by that loach, since its body was filled with eggs. She quickly calls her assistant, informing him that the cocoon they were after might already be in the city, and orders the search to begin immediately. She then tells the survivor to take her to the lake where it all happened. Meanwhile, in the shallow waters, Lin Hao is finally done eating after devouring a ton of plecas. When the system questions him about why he's eating so many, Lin Hao points out that they're invasive species, so technically he's helping the shallow water zone by wiping them out. Just then, he checks his status and sees he's ready to evolve. Looking over his skills, he gets confused about one and wonders what effect improving fortune could even have. He also checks his quests and realizes, as expected, they reset every day. Now, instead of just one, the quest says he needs to devour 10 mutated creatures. The only problem is, where is he supposed to find those? Thinking about it, he recalls the sea loaches he saw earlier, and gets confused about what they were even doing there. He wonders if maybe they got mixed up with the plecos. For the time being, he brushes off the thought and gets back to leveling up. As he accepts the evolution, his status shows he's now level 7 and his divine powers have increased to level 3. He also gains a camouflage skill that lets him blend in with his surroundings. To test it out, he starts swimming with other fish and realizes his divine power passive, which mentioned elevating others in an area of effect, is actually some kind of buffing aura. While the fish are swimming in circles, a little girl on the shore gets excited and points it out to her mother. But then she notices the lockdown, with announcements asking all non-officials to leave the area. The army surrounds the pond, and tosses round detection devices into the water. As they sink, Lin Hao gets confused watching them. But when he sees them glowing, a mutated creature detected. Lin Hao gets the same warning that he's been discovered. Without wasting time, specialized divers in full diving suits and armed with harpoons start jumping into the pond. This immediately triggers another warning, revealing that Lin Hao has now been marked as a mutant and should leave at once. Noticing both the warning and the divers closing in, Lin Hao, despite fully knowing the dangers of the deep waters, decides to dive rather than die standing there. As he sinks deeper, he's surprised to find that it isn't as bad as he expected. The system, however, urges him to go even deeper, but Lin Hao refuses, wondering why the system was suddenly acting so hostile toward him. Instead, the system pushes him toward hunting, since apparently, prey was already waiting. Lin Hao then spots the same freaky little fish from earlier devouring a much larger one right before his eyes. The sight gives him goosebumps, but it also sparks an idea. Using his stealth skill, he makes a sneak attack. To his relief, it works, and he manages to take one down. To his complete shock, that single kill instantly completes his quest of hunting 10 mutant creatures. As a reward, he receives a designated task reward chest, which contains the black iron scale skill. Without warning, his scales begin to transform into iron. Despite the uncomfortable sensation, Lin Hao is thrilled as this is his very first transformation. The skill itself might not be the strongest, but he knows it'll be a solid boost to his defense. Just as he's soaking in this victory, a sudden eerie feeling creeps over him, the sense of a gaze locked onto his back. Turning around, Lin Hao spots the massive eel monster from earlier slithering out of hiding, and was charging straight toward him. Without hesitation, he bolted while the system's warnings flashed, claiming the opponent was slightly stronger than him. But hearing it was only a slight advantage, Lin Hao decided to stand his ground. If this eel wanted a fight, then he would show it who the real powerhouse of the depths was. As the monster charged with its mouth wide open, Lin Hao instantly activated his iron scale skill. The eel bit down but recoiled in pain as its sharp teeth snapped against the iron-like surface. Realizing its fangs were broken, Lin Hao seized the opening and slammed his tail straight into its face, hitting hard enough to leave a visible bump. Despite the blow, the eel didn't back down and lunged again. Lin Hao dodged and countered with a vicious bite. As the monster prepared another strike, Lin Hao braced with his iron scales once more. This time, the eel hesitated and quickly tried to retreat, but Lin Hao wasn't about to let it escape so easily. He clung to its body, sank his teeth in deep, and ripped away a chunk of flesh, making the monster scream in agony. In desperation, the eel attempted to coil its tongue around him, but Lin Hao's strengthened body was too much. With raw force, he pushed his way inside its mouth, tearing through its insides like a raging beast. Moments later, he burst out of the monster's body like a cannonball, leaving the massive eel collapsing lifelessly in the water. A notification window popped up, announcing that he had slain the mutant red dot brocade snake. Lin Hao barely noticed, too busy tearing into the eel's flesh, determined to claim every bit of what was his. Another notification quickly followed, revealing he had gained 500 evolution points from consuming the mutant meat. The sheer amount stunned him until the system guide explained it was because he had taken down a creature above his level, granting him unexpected gains. Before he could even process it, the guide touched his crystal, which suddenly lit up as powerful energy surged through his body. His vision blurred and his senses spun. When he finally opened his eyes, he was stunned to find that he was no longer in his fish form, but standing in a muscular human body, completely naked. Looking down at his hands, Lin Hao realized with shock that he was truly in his human form. Overcome with excitement, he grabbed hold of the guide, only for her to inform him that the transformation was only temporary. She explained further that at his core, he remained a fish. This body granted him no combat abilities, and only allowed him to speak with her. Despite these limitations, Lin Hao wondered if he could finally step ashore. The system confirmed that he could, but also warned that he looked like someone straight out of a jungle movie, and without proper clothing, he risked being arrested for indecent exposure. Clad in nothing but seaweed underwear, Lin Hao cautiously peered out of the pond and spotted a small storage room nearby, an area rarely visited, used for unclaimed or lost items. Seeing an opportunity, he slipped inside, scavenged for clothes, and dressed himself. Keeping the pocket watch with him, he emerged looking like an oddly dressed delivery man. As he made his way forward, Lin Hao ran into military personnel stationed near the pond. The guards immediately shouted at him for disobeying evacuation orders. At that moment, Lin Hao noticed Luoxiu's assistant speaking with the soldiers on the phone, attempting to get permission for the head of the research team. Luoxiu, forgetting her ID, asks to enter. Hearing her name, Lin Hao realizes this must be his girlfriend and instinctively tries to rush toward her assistant. The guards, however, restrain him. The assistant catches sight of Lin Hao and grows curious about how he managed to appear in such a heavily restricted area. As Lin Hao points toward the pocket watch in his hand, the guard quickly realizes he cannot speak. Noticing this, Luoxiu's assistant takes the watch, at first wondering if it was meant for him. However, upon opening it, he discovers that it belongs to team leader Luo. Though puzzled by the gesture, the assistant does not recognize Lin Hao's face and instead asks if he knows her. With no response forthcoming, he assures Lin Hao that he will deliver it to Luoxiu himself, then orders Lin Hao to head home. Before Lin Hao can act, Luoxiu herself arrives at the site, requesting updates on the evacuation orders. Seeing her, Lin Hao instinctively lowers the brim of his cap, aware that he cannot speak, and uncertain of when his temporary human form might vanish. As the discussion continues, the assistant hands Luoxiu the pocket watch. When she looks inside, she is shaken with disbelief. When she hurriedly asks who gave it to him, the assistant points behind him, only to find that Lin Hao has already disappeared. Left with no explanation, he assumes the stranger was merely a passing tourist and decides to resume his duties. Outwardly, the team moves on, but inwardly Luoxiu cannot ignore the possibility that the man was Lin Hao and that he might still be alive. Meanwhile, hidden in the bushes some distance away, Lin Hao watches everything unfold. He silently promises himself that one day he will explain everything to her. At that very moment, the system window flashes a warning that his transformation spell is about to end. Forced to act quickly, he strips off the borrowed clothes and plunges back into the water. The experience leaves him unsettled. If he can assume human form, then perhaps he can also transform into other creatures. Remembering the monstrous being that killed him once before, Lin Hao steels himself with a single resolve: he must grow stronger, train harder, and uncover the truth about the nightmare that has been tormenting him. Meanwhile, at the city's research center tower, Luoxiu submits an application form that immediately draws the attention of senior researcher Jiang. Concerned, Jiang urges her to reconsider, warning that the injection of the experimental virus carries enormous risks. As a researcher, she does not need to put herself through such danger. But Luoxiu remains firm, insisting that she has already thought it through. Her true desire is to transfer to the action team. Jiang, however, knows she's doing it for Lin Hao, and reminds her that the world is facing a disaster-level threat, so it's not the time for personal feelings. According to her, though, it's not just about that. She wants to join the action team to gain new breakthroughs in researching mutated creatures, since her current team always arrives late on the scene. Despite being unsatisfied, Jiang eventually agrees. Meanwhile, back in the water, Lin Hao is bored out of his mind and decides to head into deeper waters, since he can't spot anything worth eating nearby. The system, however, urges him to reconsider, warning that it could be really dangerous because of unknown creatures lurking below. Lin Hao agrees with that logic but instantly dives into the depths anyway, convinced that he won't know unless he tries. Besides, if things go south, he can always just run for it. In the unexplored depths of the lake lies a hidden world. A dark tunnel divides two distinct realms, and outside, countless strange creatures lurk with glowing red eyes. Lin Hao hides behind a rock, shielding himself with a leaf while chewing on a crab leg. Though tempted to explore, he chooses caution and makes a strategic retreat. Suddenly, the system notifies him that he has enough evolution points to advance. He accepts, and his body glimmers with light, his scales shine and his eyes glowing. The transformation grants him enhanced vision, and his new stats appear. His race is still a black koi, but now at level 8, he is 1.5 meters long, weighs 101 pounds, and has skills like camouflage, flame scales, a powerful bite, and a tail whip. His evolution also unlocks a map of the surrounding world, including the city, rivers, and a waterfall near a chemical plant. He doubts its usefulness at first, but discovers he can teleport for 1 hour daily. Initially hesitant, he eventually activates it, realizing it can't hurt. As soon as he does, his body transforms into glowing pixels that are absorbed into the map, and in the next moment, he appears at a new location. Excited, Lin Hao explores his new surroundings. Schools of fish swim nearby, turning the place into an all-you-can-eat feast. He begins to hunt. He catches a glimpse of its face and is shocked to see it's a catfish, and not just any catfish, but one that's 2 meters long. That alone is strange. But even strange catfish's slippery skin. The creature retaliates with a tail strike, knocking him back. The blow barely hurts, and Lin Hao, undeterred, activates his flame scales and charges in like a maniac. His body crackles with electricity and fire as he strikes the giant catfish, slamming it to the lake. The creature bites back, but its mouth ignites, forcing it to retreat. Lin Hao presses the attack and drives it back. Yet, before he can finish the fight, his teleportation timer expires. As he fades, his eyes catch a terrifying sight, a bloodshot eye, and a white figure with glowing red eyes standing in a desolate forest. The vision reminds him of the monstrous being from Linquian City, and a deep unease fills him as he realizes the city might be in danger again. Before he can act, he's pulled back to the city lake, still reeling from the unsettling feeling. The image of the white figure and the bloodshot eye is burned into his mind. He knows he cannot mistake that presence. Something about it feels far too familiar. Hearing this, the system advises him to go back and take another look. But the question is how he can return. With a casual motion, it creates 2 glowing bubbles before him, one showing his human form, the other his fish form. The choice is clear: wait until tomorrow to teleport and hope for another chance, or swim now toward the river 5 km away. His strength will not last, and he will turn back into a carp long before reaching it. As the memory of the creature drives him, he chooses without hesitation, touching the bubble of his human form. Doing that, he swims toward the surface where he finds Luo Chu with her assistant, talking about her leaving. According to her, she'll head out the next day after wrapping everything up. Lin Hao, overhearing that, is confused. Meanwhile, her assistant claims he already knew she wasn't the type to just sit around dissecting mutated creatures in the lab. She admits she was excited when first invited by the team but didn't feel any sense of purpose. But after learning the secrets, her intentions changed. The assistant, lighting a cigarette, argues that while the mutated creatures might pose a huge threat to public safety, the geek virus they carry might not be entirely useless. Luoxiu agrees, pointing out that action team members are injected with it to enhance their strength and abilities. And if they want to break limits, they just increase the dues. With that, the guy respectfully says his goodbye, hoping to see her safe, to which she replies that she will be since someone is waiting for her. As they bid farewell, Lin Hao also leaves and, taking his human form, goes on a stealth mission. While running through the woods, he recalls Luoxiu talking about joining the dragon team to research mutated creatures, and now they were about to embark on a dangerous mission. Realizing this, Lin Hao wonders if he too carries that virus, but the system just updates him that he's got 40 minutes left in his human form. Hearing that, Lin Hao picks up the pace and eventually reaches the water. He takes a moment to catch his breath, realizing it took way too long, then jumps straight in, transforming back into his fish form. There, he starts devouring different adult fish, gaining evolution points left and right. Soon, the fish around him vanish, which makes him realize there might be a bigger predator nearby. Suddenly, he notices the water turning murky, and as he's about to check it out, the large catfish from before tries to bite him. Lin Hao escapes its jaws by inches but immediately feels a dark killing intent from the fish, realizing something is definitely wrong with it. Thinking it might be holding some kind of grudge against him, he loads up his spell and charges straight at it head-on. Getting close, Lin Hao unleashes his tail slash and smacks it right in the face with a powerful strike that stuns the big guy. Seizing the chance, Lin Hao bites into its body with his powerful jaws. He eventually manages to tear into its flesh, making the fish writhe in pain. Chewing on the pieces, Lin Hao realizes it actually tastes pretty good and wonders if it would have been easier to take it down without all that slime on it. He's also confused about why it got so aggressive so quickly, and how many points he's going to get from it. After going into a feeding frenzy, Lin Hao racks up a fat 3,000 evolution points, levels up to 9, and evolves into a fire-scale black koi. Just as he's getting excited about it, he hears some people on the surface talking about electrocuting fish. Curious, Lin Hao swims up and notices 3 shady-looking men setting up for electrofishing to get an easy catch. Lin Hao finds it a pretty filthy way to hunt. But as he's observing them, the men suddenly notice him. They get hyped seeing such a big fish, but to their horror, Lin Hao leaps at them with his mouth wide open. Terrified for their lives, the men drop everything and run. That's when the guide points out that by doing that, he just drew even more attention to himself, and now the dragon team might be onto him at any moment. Hearing that, Lin Hao suddenly gets really worried. At the police station, the 3 shady men are explaining what happened. Of course they're exaggerating the size of the fish and how it attacked while the officers struggle to hold back their laughter. The cops ask if the men have been drinking, but they deny it, insisting they were totally sober while fishing. But then, when the police bring up that they were illegally fishing during a buffet of quests, to his surprise, all the tasks are already completed, thanks to those shady men and their electro-fishing. Now that Lin Hao has met the evolution conditions, the system window pops up asking for confirmation. Wasting no time, our boy accepts it. As he hits level 10, he also gets to open the quest reward chest. From the available skills, he chooses sharp horn and, suddenly feeling an itch on his forehead crystal, sprouts a mystical horn. It feels kind of weird to him that a koi just grew a horn, but he's hyped to see it sharp and fast, something that could definitely pack a punch. With that, he decides to test it out tomorrow in the cold river. Meanwhile, inside the Dragon team's conference room, all the officials are gathered for a tense meeting. Luke Shu's assistant briefs the heads, confirming they've locked down the target's location and promising that next time they'll secure it. On a video call, the chief of the organization stresses the urgency, reminding everyone that with such a dense population in the city, things could spiral out of control if they don't act fast. The assistant assures him the Dragon team will give it their all. But just as the meeting is about to end, the chief shares something unsettling: a massive catfish carcass recovered from the cold river. Its skeletal structure is nothing like a normal fish, with bizarrely mutated teeth and warped bones. The room starts buzzing with panic, but Luke Shu steps closer to the screen for a better look. Studying the bones, she deduces that it's most likely a DEET virus-evolved fish. And if that's the case, then there must be an even stronger creature that hunted it down. This realization spreads more panic as they wonder just how big of a monster is lurking in the waters and what it's doing so close to the city. At that moment, an executive leans in and whispers some new info to Luke Shu's assistant. As Luke Shu continues explaining, the assistant adds that the police just reported 3 men claiming to have seen a koi fish bigger than a human. With that, the Dragon team immediately sets its next target, the unknown mutated koi fish. The next morning, Lin Hao sets his sights on a wild boar, ready to test out his shiny new horn with a one-hit KO. Moving quietly from the water, he lunges forward and lands a clean stab right into the boar's head. The beast thrashes and screams but eventually collapses. Seeing that, Lin Hao is excited until he realizes his horn is stuck in the skull. After some struggle, he pulls it free, making a mental note about the importance of growing actual limbs. Still, a win's a win, and he can't help but feel proud of that single strike. The guide, ever the advisor, suggests he switch into his human form to get those limbs he wants. Lin Hao agrees but insists he needs them in his battle form, not just for show. Carrying the boar back to the water, the guide points out how natural he's become in his fish body, and Lin Hao has to admit it doesn't even feel that strange anymore. When it comes time to eat, the fur turns him off at first, but after cleaning it, he digs in. To his surprise, the chewy boar meat isn't bad at all. The system rewards him with 350 evolution points. Not much, but still progress. Lin Hao is just happy. Never in his life did he think he'd be eating boar like this. With that, he decides to teleport back to this place tomorrow, as it is perfect for quick leveling. He then teleports back to the pond and swims toward the shallows. There he spots a crab minding its own business. Feeling a little cocky, Lin Hao decides it's time to show the poor thing who's boss. He easily takes it down but notices fish grouping up at the surface and realizes the lockdown might be over. To check, he sneaks up and overhears some tourists talking about the blast in the East District and rumors of a monster. Lin Hao wonders if it's the same one he saw in the cold river and asks the guide if there are also land-based creatures. According to her, anyone affected by the virus can mutate, which makes Lin Hao realize he could have been affected too. But the system, with its loving eyes, assures him that he's different from the rest because he has her. This flusters Lin Hao, but he quickly changes the topic, asking if he'll get the chance to eat the mutant monster before the Dragon team hunts it down. Just the thought of it makes him drool. However, the system shakes him out of his daydreaming and urges him to get back to work. He then realizes he's becoming just like a corporate slave, even though he doesn't even have a boss. After grinding for a while, he unlocks a new teleportation area, which also extends his stay time by 30 minutes. Now he can explore more waters, and with that, more fish. To him, it feels exactly like unlocking new maps in a game, and he wonders what other evolutions might be waiting. Thinking about it, he uses the map and teleports to a slimy swamp near a chemical plant. Lin Hao feels grossed out by the place, but suddenly overhears 2 individuals talking about something they need to grab before the Dragon team does. Lin Hao instantly realizes these guys must be the Dragon team's enemies, since the Dragon team is supposed to be a national secret organization. To get more insight, Lin Hao uses his stealth skill and swims closer, wondering if there's another organization besides the dragon team. As he gets near, he notices the two men carrying long boxes on their backs, which probably contain guns. The men keep talking about something they're looking for in Dongguan that can awaken an ancient creature. They also mention ancient civilization relic hidden in the city. Hearing that, Lin Hao is shocked. Wait, Dongguan has ancient creatures, too. These guys want to get their hands on those relics and use the advanced equipment from them to become the strongest when disaster strikes. One of them tells the other to keep his voice down, but the other brushes it off, saying, "No one's around in this swamp." Little do they know, Lin Hao is lurking just a few feet away. As they are about to leave, they claim they'll kill anyone who gets in their way. With that, Lin Hao realizes these guys are definitely the bad guys, especially since they're armed. Meanwhile, one of them hears news on his earpiece and orders the other to get ready since the dragon team has already narrowed down the target. Mocking the dragon team is just a bunch of kids. They also mention bringing out a number 3 suit. This number 3 suit makes Lin Hao curious, but to his shock, the men suddenly receive a warning that they've been discovered. Lin Hao quickly ducks down before they can notice him. He realizes their watches might actually be mutated creature detectors, which seem way more convenient than the dragon team's giant, clunky gear. The men, now on edge, wonder if a mutated creature is nearby. To test it, they open one of the boxes and pull out a massive sword oozing with dark energy. Without hesitation, one of them slashes it into the water, sending waves splashing everywhere. Even though Lin Hao is underwater, the force tosses him out, making him realize just how insanely strong that weapon is. The men spot Lin Hao flying out, and immediately recognize him as a mutated creature. Getting exposed, Lin Hao bolts while the men chase after him, excited at the thought that his big, mutated body might be carrying the infamous virus. As the men keep chasing, they're shocked that this fish actually knows how to run away, showing it has some kind of intelligence. Meanwhile, Lin Hao also realizes these men aren't ordinary. Carrying those heavy boxes and still keeping up is no joke. To speed up, Lin Hao uses his tail splash and manages to put some distance between them. Eventually he loses them and reminds himself he doesn't really need to be nervous since, worst case scenario, he can always teleport away if they catch him. With that, he gets back to hunting, though he's still thinking about those guys and how they probably aren't from the dragon team. He brushes it off for now since his main goal is gaining evolution points. Running low on time, he rushes around taking out tilapia left and right. But even after all that grinding, he doesn't see much of a change in his status, though at least the fish are giving him pretty high evolution points. After munching them all down, he checks his quest panel and sees 4 tasks waiting. Most of them are easy, but the tough one really stands out. He needs to find 10 mutated creatures. Deciding to ignore it for now, he focuses on leveling up instead. As he eats more, his teleportation time increases to 2 hours, and his map exploration area also expands. Things are going pretty nicely, so Lin Hao decides to keep farming. But then he notices the surrounding fish suddenly fleeing. Something's off. And that's when he spots a person in a full warrior suit charging straight at him with a sword drawn. Lin Hao recognizes the sword from those 2 men earlier. And while he's still processing it, the man suddenly slashes at him. Lin Hao barely manages to dodge, but to his shock, the man teleports right behind him and lands a hit, slamming him down into the ground. Getting struck, Lin Hao realizes this guy is insanely fast, so he uses all his skills to retaliate. He unleashes a powerful energy burst that stuns the man, and as he's about to recover, Lin Hao closes the distance and smacks him right in the face. The hit works, breaking the man's face shield and confirming it really is the same man from before. Not stopping for a second, Lin Hao launches a barrage of horn strikes, but despite the power, he can't pierce the man's armor. It's ridiculously tough for a human-made suit. As the man prepares to strike back, Lin Hao quickly tail flashes him and follows up with a hard bite to the forearm. But even then, he realizes the armor is made of some absurdly tough material. His teeth can't even dent it. Meanwhile, the man inside the suit is stunned, watching this crazed koi beast go feral, desperately trying to rip his armor apart. No matter how hard he hits back, the fish refuses to retreat. Then, just as things are about to escalate, luck turns in the man's favor. Lin Hao's teleportation timer expires, and he is abruptly pulled back into the pond. Still, he can't stop thinking about the sharp blade the man had. Lin Hao knows that if he had been hit one more time, it would have been over. That sword didn't look like any ordinary weapon. It was insanely sharp, and the armor looked like it came straight out of some advanced tech lab. As he's lost in thought, Lin Hao remembers the men talking about civilization ruins and starts wondering if the sword and armor came from there. The guide listens patiently as Lin Hao theorizes that the virus, the mutated creatures, and the ancient civilization might all be connected. According to his theory, a long time ago, an advanced civilization came to Earth. When it collapsed, it left behind ruins and a virus that created mutated monsters. It could be an intelligent being they left behind as a key to reopening the ruins and awakening their ancient ancestors, who are now the mutated creatures. If that's true, Lin Hao realizes their world might be in genuine danger, and the only way to fight off that disaster is for him to evolve as fast as possible. After more hunting, our boy finally reaches level 15. Thanks to a quest completion, he also receives a blue treasure chest. Rating his new status, he's shocked to see a new ability, Night Combat, which grants him improved night vision and a 10 strength boost. That may not sound like much, but Lin Hao is excited because later on, that extra 10 could easily be a game changer. Meanwhile, back at the chemical plant, the two men are sitting by the swamp in despair. The other man asks the armored one about the mutated creature, and he responds that the thing just disappeared into thin air. This makes them realize it might have teleportation powers. The man then notices the damage on his companion's armor and points it out. The armored man is disappointed, grumbling that despite all the effort it took to get the armor, a simple fish still managed to bite into it. As they prepare to leave, the armored man can't shake the flashback of Lin Hao's vengeful eyes, realizing there's something very wrong with that fish. He knows he should report this to his organization, otherwise, it might fall straight into the dragon team's hands. Meanwhile, on the internet, chat groups are buzzing about the curfew in the Eastern District, speculating whether something appeared there or if it was something even more serious. Back at the Dongchuan River, our boy wakes up from a nice sleep to find his tasks tab is refreshed. He realizes that whether he completes them or not, the tasks reset automatically every morning. Suddenly, another notification pops up about his map upgrade. As he's scrolling through the brand new map, Lin Hao gets a strange, uneasy feeling. Following his gut, he swims to the surface to check things out, and notices what looks like a blast coming from the nearby mountain. To investigate further, Lin Hao transforms into his naked human form. Meanwhile, at Dongchuan Mountain, soldiers are scrambling into position in a full panic. They've been ordered to block all paths and be ready to kill once the target is confirmed. Luoxu is also on her way, driving a jeep up the mountain, following her higher-ups orders to ensure the target doesn't escape. Upon arrival, Luoxu's assistant sets up his sniper and reveals that he's found traces of the organization, a bunch of madmen who inject themselves with the geek virus without caring about the consequences. Luoxu takes her position as well, noting that Ed is injured and vulnerable, and orders her assistant to hold back the organization's men so they don't interfere. The assistant has one of the organization members in his sights, a man holding a grenade, ready to shoot if they try anything foolish. He knows these maniacs are dangerous, and, with all those explosives, they might be planning to blow up the entire mountain. As Luoxu discusses strategy with her soldiers, a suspicious drone suddenly appears above them. Luoxu spots it and instantly panics, shouting for everyone to activate their armor and get into defensive positions. Just as she gives the order, a massive blast engulfs everything. Somewhere else in the forest, Lin Hao is sneaking his way toward the blast. While moving, he's surprised by how the guide already knows the path, even though it's heavily guarded. Brushing it off, she asks him why he came. According to Lin Hao, the moment the explosion went off, he felt a mysterious force resonating with him from that direction. While chatting with the guide, Lin Hao overhears voices nearby talking about cutting communications, bragging that they managed to hit the dragon team's leader in the blast, and now they need to find the injured Ed. Hearing that, Lin Hao realizes both sides are after it, and judging by their voices, they're the same men from before. If he follows them, he's bound to find it. Meanwhile, the men themselves are still shaken by how that fish tore through their armored suit, but they brush it off to focus on finding it. From the nearby bushes, Lin Hao is stunned by their insane speed, until suddenly he hears someone else nearby. When he goes to check, to his surprise, it's Luoxu, absolutely taking down an ugly monster. After defeating it, Luoxu radios back that she's found the target, but to her shock, the other man is already there, standing with his sword out, ready to fight. Noticing her, the man walks toward Luoxu, and suddenly lunges. But to his surprise, someone grabs his arm. It's Lin Hao, radiating with immense energy. Lin Hao knows he doesn't have much time left in his transformation, so he has to make it a one-hit kill. With that, he stabs the man with his own sword. The man freezes in disbelief, struggling to understand who Lin Hao really is. Then, suddenly he recalls the fish from before and starts laughing maniacally, realizing it's him. While laughing like a lunatic, he casually pulls the sword out of his body and hurls it toward Luoxu. Little lovey-dovey scene doesn't go unnoticed, and the system immediately starts acting like a third wheel, but Lin Hao can't shake off a weird feeling. In his human form, he feels a bit different than before, even though he doesn't have the same powers as his koi form. On the surface, realizing it is missing, probably having escaped during the commotion, Luoqiu informs her team to start searching for it. Meanwhile, down in the water, Lin Hao hears about it and starts speculating that it might be looking for a spaceship to get back home. The problem is, he has no clue where to even find one. Realizing the system might know, he starts flattering her, begging for help. She's confused at first, but Lin Hao explains she can help him avoid detection and locate the spaceship by tracking electronic signals. Despite brushing him off at first, she eventually gives in and uses her powers, instantly locking onto the spaceship at the mountain top. Wasting no time, Lin Hao shoots toward the surface, knowing they can't let it escape. If it gets away with important information, the whole Earth could be in danger. Meanwhile, on the surface, Ed is by the lake, drinking water with his sword beside him. While doing that, he notices some fish and quickly dives in, starting a hunting spree. Lin Hao, who's also nearby, catches the strong smell of blood and realizes something is definitely up. As it keeps tearing through the fish, he suddenly gets a warning of an enemy nearby with higher combat power. It turns out to be exactly who he was looking for, Lin Hao. Lin Hao doesn't waste a second. He channels his spell and charges at Ed at full speed. The strike lands right in Ed's eyes, blinding him for a moment. With Lin Hao's horn stuck in his eye, it stretches his arm out and comes down with full force to slash him. Lin Hao blocks it. He already knows they all love using the same move. But despite blocking, it still hurts. His horn even gets slightly cracked. As Lin Hao is lost in thought, Ed suddenly appears above him and goes for another heavy hit. Lin Hao retaliates, shattering Ed's sword into pieces on impact, and immediately follows up by biting off the monster's arm. He thinks that without the blade and the arm, the creature won't be as strong. But to his shock, it just morphs another arm out of nowhere and smacks him in the face with insane power. The blow sends Lin Hao into unconsciousness, and in that state, he sees himself in human form, aimlessly floating. He hears the system's voice, desperately trying to wake him up. When he finally opens his eyes, he notices her shielding him, telling him not to waste energy retaliating recklessly, or he'll die. Suddenly, another punch slams into Lin Hao, sending him crashing into a nearby wall. For the first time in a long while, he actually feels raw pain. And to make things worse, Ed is already winding up another power-loaded attack. However, as the strike lands, Lin Hao manages to dodge and makes a break for it. Despite getting some distance, Ed grabs him by the tail and calls him a pesky little fish. Lin Hao, not backing down, activates his flaming body spell, burning Ed's hand. He follows up by channeling all his spells at once, biting into Ed's arm, then stabbing his horn straight into Ed's face, driving him down to the ground with flames erupting all around. After a brutal struggle, Lin Hao finally manages to roast the creature to a crisp. He takes a deep breath of relief, thinking it's finally over. But up on the surface, the eel organization goons are already searching for Ed. Lin Hao is surprised by how quickly they showed up. From the look of them, they definitely don't seem friendly, more like the type to kill him on the spot. The men on the surface spot Ed's body underwater, but realize it might already be toast. Enraged by whoever took him out, they start swearing they'll skin the culprit alive. Lin Hao hears all this and realizes it's a desperate situation. With no other choice, he decides to roll the dice and take a gamble. After devouring the corpse, Lin Hao transforms into a full humanoid lizard, stronger than ever, and finally able to move freely on land. Deep in the mountains, a hidden craft guarded by the eel organization becomes his next target. Their patrol didn't last long, as a red blur burst from the water, slitting their throats then leaving the guards sprawled out dead. In his salamander form, Lin Hao crawled toward the craft, determined not to let the enemy keep it. Inside, a soldier was relaxing, completely unaware of what was coming. Lin Hao shifted into his human form, struck the man without warning, and then instantly morphed back into his monstrous self. The terrified soldier barely had time to scream before Lin Hao tore him apart. The rest of the squad saw the brutal fate of their comrade and completely panicked. But in a single slash, Lin Hao cut through them, turning the place into a bloodbath. As he did this, Lin Hao realized his energy had skyrocketed after this evolution. He might finally not be stuck in the water all the time. He transformed back into his human form and headed toward the control panel, but when he looked at it, he couldn't understand a thing. Instead, he noticed a strange box nearby. Grabbing it, he took it with him. Outside, the guide was getting anxious, asking why Lin Hao was standing around as if he wanted to be caught by the dragon team. She was nervous about them showing up and spotting him. But Lin Hao already had an idea. Smirking, he set fire to the craft and its surroundings, knowing the flames would grab the dragon team's attention. To him, it was the perfect way to send a signal without exposing himself directly. The fire raged through the clearing, and soon, far away, dragon team scouts spotted the blaze. Suspicious, they reported it as another possible act of a mutated creature. Luoqiu and her assistant arrived, carefully studying the scene and realizing they should investigate the spaceship. Just as they were processing it, a nearby guard called out, informing them that what appeared to be the Et's remains had been found. Realizing the Et had been eaten, Luoqiu's assistant was shocked, wondering if some mutated creature had devoured it. Hearing that, Luoqiu quietly thought of Lin Hao, knowing this was connected to him, but she revealed nothing out loud. She just claimed she had no idea what it could be. The assistant added that the It had only landed a little while ago. Luoqiu, acting calm, told them not to overthink it, and suggested focusing on the spaceship, since they could learn a lot from it. Internally though, she knew she couldn't let them dig too deep, or they would uncover Lin Hao's involvement. Meanwhile, her assistant realized something else. They still hadn't found the Et's weapon. Deep under the water, Lin Hao had already hidden that very sword, carefully covering it with stones and a coal. The guide, seeing it, realized that even after all that, they had a weapon they couldn't use. So Lin Hao decided to just leave it for now. But he was excited about one thing. He had actually crossed over from a fish to an amphibian. That meant he could now cross species and even talk. Then his eyes went wide when he checked the quest log. It was asking him to take down a level 1 warrior. Lin Hao's mouth dropped open. He had put forth immense effort just to take down a level 2 warrior. A level 1 might as well be a death sentence. The guide suggested he just skip it, but Lin Hao felt like he couldn't. It was like leaving a test question blank, it just didn't sit right with him. Letting it go for the moment, they decided to get back to hunting. While searching, they noticed hundreds of mutated mudskippers being tossed into the lake by 2 farmers who, job done, were already heading off to get drunk for the night. As they were about to leave, they heard a noise from below the water surface. Suddenly, Lin Hao blasted them with a water beam packed full of those mutated mudfish. Seeing that, the men freaked out, thinking it was a ghost, and ran away. Climbing out of the water in his amphibian form, Lin Hao wondered if those were the same men who had been trying to hunt him. But before he could think too much, he noticed multiple bright red lights glowing from beneath the water. The next thing he knew, hundreds of crawfish launched themselves straight at him, claws wide open. That's when Lin Hao realized they were mutated crawfish. But instead of being scared, he was actually excited, seeing them as a buffet. As they all charged, our boy fired off a fire beam, frying a bunch of them instantly. Munching away, the system chimed in, showing he had just gained 100 evolution points from the meal. As he was checking his status, one of the bigger ones smacked him and making Lin Hao realize he shouldn't underestimate it. The thing looked big and fast, and even though it landed a few hits, Lin Hao managed to dodge most of them. He then countered with a fully charged horn strike, but the crawfish blocked it with its claws, locking his head in a claw grip. This surprised Lin Hao, but he wasn't a little fish anymore. Using his limbs, he crushed the claws and followed up by slamming the crawfish straight in the face with an immense burst of energy. His own claw hurt from the hit, but before the crawfish could retaliate, Lin Hao activated his burning flame spell, roasting the creature into a well-done dinner. He devoured it, joking that his teeth hurt more from eating it than from actually fighting it. To his excitement, this also completed his difficult task. When he opened the reward chest, an immense surge of energy flooded his body. With a grin, he called out to the guide, wanting to show off. To her shock, Lin Hao suddenly blasted literal Godzilla-like beams from his mouth, flames he could even shoot underwater. The guide immediately warned him not to try that in the mountains, unless he wanted major trouble. While they were talking, Lin Hao spotted a mutated mudfish swimming by and chomped it down. Realizing the city's entire water supply might be crawling with these mutated fish, which is a problem way bigger than just dinner. Meanwhile, the system suggests he stay inside the water for now since he has organizations on his back. Ignoring it, our hero starts wondering why they dumped these creatures into the inland river, then remembers it's probably just to buy time. That makes him realize they're trying to keep the dragon team busy, so he has to do something. Swimming out of the water and transforming into his human form, our hero knows he can't let them take his home, Dragon Lake, that easily. With that determination, he starts running through the woods. When the system asks what he's doing, he casually reveals he's just craving some mudfish. At the dragon team headquarters, Luoqiu's assistant is briefing the officials about people releasing mutated creatures into different areas. He slams the desk, pointing out that the mudfish aren't dangerous by themselves, but they can take a human body as a host. Because of that, they need to seal all the waters and wait for further instructions from the higher-ups. The officials agree. Meanwhile, Luoxiu and the other scientists are observing a strange mutated creature with wings wreaking havoc. One of the scientists reveals the sheer size of the beast, and notes that it can generate extremely terrifying heat with an unknown temperature. Luoxiu immediately asks for its location so they can launch an attack, but another scientist explains it's too fast and never stays in one place for long. The old man, Dian, steps in, pointing out that based on its trajectory, it looks like the creature is heading toward the Atlantic Ocean. But there's another matter that requires attention. With that, he introduces Luoxiu to the others, revealing she has a surprise for them. To their shock, her team has acquired an entire alien spaceship. Hearing that, the scientists get hyped, since aliens usually destroy their crafts after landing. This time, though, they actually managed to get their hands on one. The old man also points out that the creature looked ridiculously strong and had battle scars but still ended up dead, which means something even bigger must be out there. He also mentions the creature's missing sword, which makes the scientists speculate. Either the eel organization snatched it, or the creature that killed it ate the sword along with the body. As they're chattering, Luoxiu drifts off in thought, wondering if it was really Lin Hao who pulled that off. The old man then shocks her by mentioning that the city branch has already detected a giant mutated creature which might be the one that killed Et. According to him, they've already sent a team to hunt it down. Hearing that, Luoxiu realizes she needs to reach Lin Hao and help him. So she hurriedly requests the old man arrange the gate virus for her as soon as possible. He agrees while Luoxiu prepares herself to take full responsibility for the consequences. Back on the shore, Lin Hao takes a sigh of relief after cleaning up all those mudfish. Despite him doing the work, it's his system that's feeling tired. Lin Hao, though, is really starting to feel overwhelmed. Handling mutated creatures, dealing with it business, and saving humanity all in just a few days is a lot. Still, because he wiped out so many mudfish, he gets another reward. As he clicks it, an immense surge of purple energy flows into his body. He suddenly feels itchy, like something's crawling inside his head, then realizes he's literally growing a brain. A notification window pops up, revealing he's unlocked a new skill, Berserk Mode. It boosts his combat power for 10 seconds with a 24-hour cooldown, but after that, he'll be weakened. Lin Hao doesn't like the sound of that at all. While he's still processing this, a blast suddenly erupts from a nearby cave. The system points him in the direction, and when Lin Hao arrives, he's surprised to find the entrance is just his size, letting him crawl in like a rat. He reaches a dead-end wall but manages to poke a small hole in it. Peeking inside, his jaw drops. There's a T-Rex in a test tube. And not just one, but multiple of them, frozen in time. Lin Hao quickly asks the system to detect their combat strength, but it finds no sign of life in them. Still, Lin Hao swears he just saw them moving. Suddenly, to their shock, the warning lights start blaring. An unknown combat entity has been detected nearby. Out of nowhere, a massive wave crashes into the cave, breaking the walls apart. Lin Hao can't help but wonder what kind of creature is strong enough to control waves like that. As he's trying to process it, a huge swirl forms right in front of him and begins sucking him in. Lin Hao tries to stay calm, reminding himself he could just teleport back at any moment, but then he changes his mind. No, first he wants to see who's behind this. With a surge of power, he breaks free of the swirl, only to be shocked when everything outside looks perfectly calm, as if nothing had even happened. But when he looks back, the swirl is gone. What follows next, though, leaves him stunned. A two-meter long, piling mutated creature crawls out. The system immediately pops up, informing Lin Hao that if he eats this creature, he'll also gain its abilities. That makes our hero way too excited, already wondering just how many evolution points he could rack up from something that can literally control seawater. Just then, the creature shoots out a bubbly water beam, forming strange electric bubbles that hover around him. To Lin Hao's surprise, the bubbles don't just pop, they actually follow him. One even makes contact, shocking him from the inside out with a jolt of electricity. Getting up, Lin Hao realizes it doesn't really hurt, but it's enough to leave him dazed. With that, both sides start blasting beams at each other. When Lin Hao has finally had enough and fires his own flame beam, he's shocked to see a tentacle rising straight out of the fire. The monster's tentacle lashes toward him and manages to grab him. That's when Lin Hao realizes these two creatures aren't just strong, they're working together intelligently. He knows he needs to get serious if he wants to make it out alive. So, he ignites his entire body in flames, burning the monster's tentacle until it recoils in pain. But the mutant fish isn't done. It quickly follows up with another bubble beam attack. Our boy dodges every single one, charging straight toward the monster. As he closes in, and the fish tries to launch yet another beam, Lin Hao opens his mouth and spits a fire beam right down its throat. The blast erupts inside the monster's body, bursting flames from all around. That's the end of the mutant fish. Wasting no time, Lin Hao devours it whole. Immediately after, the guide warns that the blood might attract other monsters, but Lin Hao was more than ready to take them on. Then the system window pops up, notifying him he just gained 25,000 evolution points from the kill, which makes him incredibly excited. However, despite the guide's concern about the area, Lin Hao swims on, chasing the tentacle creature that fled. The guide also warns him about a mutant breeding base nearby, but he reassures her that he has teleportation as a backup in a worst-case scenario. Not far ahead, the guide notices the monster's tentacle again and points it out to Lin Hao, but to him, it just looks strange. Suddenly, that suspicion is confirmed as the tentacle comes flying straight at him. When Lin Hao turns, he's met with a nightmarish sight. The same octopus monster from before is now being eaten alive by a colossal, god-like crab. Our boy can't believe his eyes. But before he can even process it, the crab's attention locks onto him, pinning him down with its overwhelming presence. Realizing the situation, he wisely decides it's time to run. As Lin Hao swims away, the giant crab chases after him. This is when he realizes the guy was right. He can't teleport yet, because he's still out of range. While fleeing, he takes a sharp turn, but the crab manages to bite his tail, and to his shock, it actually cracks his scales. Realizing he's in real danger, Lin Hao speeds off. Just as the monster is about to chomp down on him, he finally reaches the teleportation range and slips away. At the Donchuan River, he lets out a big sigh of relief, only for the guide to mock him for being so confident in his teleportation. Lin Hao, embarrassed, mutters that he didn't know, so it doesn't count. Looking around, he notices they're not in his home waters, and the guy claims he must have picked this spot in a panic. But then Lin Hao spots mutated sea loaches even here, proving they're reproducing. With an annoyed huff, he blasts them with his beam, something the guide scolds him for, calling it a waste of power. Lin Hao just shrugs it off, saying it's for stress relief. But mid-banter, the water suddenly feels strange. When they look back, their eyes go wide as a massive tornado of mutated loaches swirls around them. Seeing this, Lin Hao realizes there are enough to wipe out a whole city, and he wonders who could have sent them. Without hesitation, he flashes out of the water, charges up his Godzilla-style energy beam, and fires it at full intensity into the river. The blast takes out a huge chunk of the swarm, but the guide grimly notes it still won't be enough. Lin Hao, however, is confident that at least he's helping. He also knows the river is now empty, thanks to all these hungry loaches. Walking into the jungle, he spots two formally dressed men chatting. They're talking about their men getting caught, the very ones responsible for spreading the mutated loaches. One of them, though, assures the other that their job is already done. Since the loaches reproduce insanely fast, the city's rivers will be over in no time. Hearing how casual they are about it makes Lin Hao furious. The two continue laughing about the city's future misery, bragging that not even the dragon team could do anything. They plan to seize the ruins of civilization once it all collapses. Lin Hao, listening, can't help but wonder if the frozen creatures he saw are connected to this plan of reviving an ancient civilization. Just then, one of the men pulls out a tube filled with glowing green eggs and tosses it into the water, eager to see how the local ecosystem will deal with it. But before he can even light his cigarette, the tube is tossed right back, smacking him in the head. Both men angrily shout, demanding to know who did that. When Lin Hao suddenly leaps out of the water, one of the men, panicked but bold, charges at him with a mystical knife. Lin Hao tries to block with his hand, but to his shock, the blade pierces right through. The pain only enrages him further. He blasts the man with immense force, then incinerates him. The remaining man, seeing all that, starts trembling in fear and nearly faints when Lin Hao actually speaks. Just then, our boy loads up a fireball and blasts the second man. Meanwhile, everything is secretly being recorded by a tiny camera hidden in the man's glasses. As Lin Hao threatens them, the man already burning suddenly starts laughing maniacally, warning Lin Hao that he won't live long either. After both of them are turned to ash, the guide nervously wonders if Lin Hao is planning to eat them too. But this time, our boy shakes his head. No way. That's way too disgusting. Still, he can't stop thinking about what they said. According to those two, mutated creatures are erupting all over the city, and it might not just be loaches. While mulling that over, Lin Hao suddenly remembers Ed and gets excited, realizing that the one he fought earlier might have just been a scout for the real main force behind all this. Diving back into the water, he wonders if their true goal is to resurrect ancient creatures from the ruins of their civilization and use them to take over the city. If that's the case, he knows he has to find a way back to those ruins. But just as he's about to move, Lin Hao feels dizzy, and suddenly blacks out. Somewhere else, in the Dragon team's lab, they finally complete the process of injecting the virus into Luoxu. As she steps out of the chamber, she feels her body is lighter and stronger than ever before. Jian greets her with a proud smile, handing her the action team uniform and badge, congratulating her on surviving the dues. As she suits up, Jian explains that she's been asleep for 20 hours since the injection. Just 3 hours ago, Eel organization goons attacked their network, trying to steal data on the mutated creatures. Luoxu isn't surprised. They always knew those guys would reveal themselves eventually. In her eyes, the Eel organization is just a bunch of beat virus junkies chasing power and survival for when disaster finally hits. After all, only the few who can survive the insane deed virus doozies even get to be a part of their group. But one thing still bugs Luoxu: why were they after it? Jian admits he's just as clueless, speculating that maybe the Eel organization sees it as some kind of messiah who will save them. Opening up the weaponry room, Jian tells her she can take anything she wants. But before stepping in, Luoxu pauses and asks if there is any difference between the Eel organization and their own. Jian answers without hesitation that the Eel organization only works for themselves, while they're fighting for humanity. With that, Luoxu walks into gear up. Jian, a bit impatient now, reminds her to hurry as they've caught a mutated creature waiting outside the city that only she can handle. Hearing that, Luoxu can't help but wonder if they are talking about Lin Hao. Outside, Lin Hao is trapped inside a specialized net, surrounded by the Dragon team. Luoxu's assistant, who's leading the squad, is relieved they finally managed to catch the mutated creature with the help of a new device, but he's still not sure what exactly it is. Lin Hao, annoyed, really didn't think he'd end up caught by this guy of all people. The system points out that he might end up dissected now, but our hero's mind is still locked on one thing: finding that ruined civilization. As the team waits, Luoxu arrives in her brand new uniform, demanding an update. Her assistant, noticing Lin Hao twitch, immediately orders his men to sedate him so he's easier to move. Meanwhile, in the back, Luoxu tells her men to stay on guard since the creature looks agitated. But just as they're about to act, Luoxu suddenly freezes in shock because she hears her name being called. Her eyes start tearing up as she realizes the voice came from that monster and it might actually be her boyfriend, Lin Hao. Her assistant, totally clueless, informs her that they can move the creature now. As Lin Hao tries to speak again, the system quickly shuts him down, reminding him there are too many people around, and if he shows his human form here, the Dragon team will definitely not let him go. Despite waiting so long to finally talk to his girlfriend, our hero can't do a thing. But Luoxu herself steps forward, walking right up to him, asking softly how he'd been, since he looks like he's been through hell. Just as they're about to share a heartfelt moment, Lin Hao suddenly notices fireballs raining down from the sky. They slam into Dongguan Mountain one after another, causing massive explosions. Seeing that, Lin Hao shouts that they're targeting the ancient civilization ruins. Without hesitation, Luoxu orders her men to contact headquarters immediately. It's clear something's gone very, very wrong with the ruins. These blasts serve as the ultimate distraction, but at least they help Luoxu make up her mind to let Lin Hao go. She knows she can't put people's lives in danger just to keep him locked up, so he needs to be released. With one swing of her sword, she cuts the net, and as he drops, it creates a massive splash. Lin Hao, seizing the opportunity, bolts off while Luoxu just stands there, lost in thought. Her assistant, not noticing her struggle, assumes the monster escaped on its own and decides they'll deal with it later. With that, Luoxu orders the team to prepare for heading towards the ancient ruins. Back in the water, Lin Hao digs out the ancient sword, knowing they need it now more than ever. Just as he finishes, he hears a commotion on the surface. Thinking it might be aliens, he swims up to check. As he surfaces, his warning system detects an unknown entity, which confuses him since he already cleared the pool of all mutants. Suddenly, nearby, an electric extraterrestrial orb appears, radiating immense force. When Lin Hao finally breaks the surface, he notices two armored aliens but is confused about why they're here instead of at the ancient city. Meanwhile, the aliens are scanning with their forearm devices, trying to detect higher combat strength. To their shock, they get one big signal. Before they can figure out, the water explodes with a massive splash, and Lin Hao comes shooting out, landing right beside them. Seeing him, one alien starts warning about their master, who's about to arrive. But our hero, all business. He doesn't wait around, and hits him with a fiery beam. However, The alien quickly activates its shield and blocks it. The alien realizes they might not have been the ones who initially provoked this creature, but to their surprise, Lin Hao burrows underground and emerges right beside them. In a flash, he dodges a counter-attack and, with his powerful claws, rips off one of the alien's heads, killing it on the spot. The other alien, seeing this, raises a finger and fires a powerful plasma shot that hits Lin Hao squarely, sending him crashing back into the water. The pain is immense, but what shocks Lin Hao even more is that the alien suddenly starts creating a massive whirlpool, apparently drawing energy from a power sphere. But Lin Hao isn't too concerned. As an amphibian, water is his home turf. To his surprise, the whirlpool isn't pulling him down, but is instead carrying him forward. Right on cue, the guide activates a protective shield as she finds him meditating, casually forming a glowing red orb of energy. Meanwhile, the military outside is scrambling. Luo Xu's assistant is busy pulling up spaceship trajectories. He reports there are 3, but they both know the numbers don't add up. There are definitely more, and they're headed straight for the ancient ruins. The assistant decides to take a team to investigate, promising updates. Inside, Luo Xu is stressed. They have 2 mutant pests that have been frozen in those ruins for ages, and scientists still can't crack the ice to study them. Why would aliens show up with a whole fleet just to awaken a couple of dinosaurs? Then it clicks. What if there are more ruins hidden in the city? Luo Xu immediately shares the theory with her superior, Jian, who reveals that he has already sent in their elite soldiers. Jian tells Luo Xu to hold the mountains with the others. She is about to reply when a man walks in. It's Li, the captain of the Dragon Action Team, and he greets her with an air of authority. As night falls, Luo Xu's assistant and his team are still waiting in the woods for the alien spaceships to land. Just as they're about to lose hope, they spot a meteor-like object streaking down from the sky. The assistant quickly requests that Luo Xu intercept it. A missile blasts it down, and seeing the opportunity, he and his team jump into action to link up with the main force. They keep shooting down these meteorites, but in the process, the assistant's team stumbles across Spaceship Park right in the middle of the woods. They're confused at first, as it looks completely untouched. As they're still processing this, the door slowly cracks open, and in a flash, an alien charges straight at them. Luo Xu's team snaps into action, firing their weapons, but the alien is too fast, dodging every bullet before slicing one of the soldiers clean in half. It then rushes at Luo Xu's assistant, who draws his sword. Their blades collide, and the assistant clenches his jaw, determined to take the creature down with him if he dies. He orders his men to fire, but the alien's shield blocks all the bullets with ease. The alien sneers, mocking human combat strength, then charges up its energy, infused arm for a finishing blow. Just as it's about to strike, a red tail smashes into it, sending the alien crashing to the ground. That's when Luo Xu's assistant realizes Lin Hao has arrived to save them. The alien, not backing down, lunges again at the dragon team's soldiers, but Lin Hao is one step ahead. He blocks its path with roaring flames, then charges his own power before chomping straight through the alien's sword mid-wing. Following up, he smacks it with a brutal backhand, slicing the alien's arm clean off. Grabbing the alien by the neck, Lin Hao mocks him, saying he shouldn't rely only on weapons. But instead of fear, the alien just laughs, revealing their hunt is only just beginning, and Lin Hao can't stop it. Lin Hao tightens his grip, demanding answers, but the figure just smiles wider, its eyes glowing with madness. Even while being crushed, the alien leans in close and whispers something that makes Lin Hao's pupils shrink in shock. Before he can process the information, a glowing arrow slices through the air and blasts straight into the alien's head, shattering it into glittering fragments. Lin Hao stands there holding the limp body, fuming. His one chance at answers was just snatched away, and now he's looking at the culprit with a furious stare. In the distance, Li steps into view, his bow radiating golden light. As the tension spikes, Luo Xu arrives, revealing that Li is from headquarters. Lin Hao catches on that Luo Xu is trying to warn him. He realizes Li doesn't know about him yet, which means he has to get out before it's too late. Just as Li is about to fire another arrow, Luo Xu whips out a flashbang and throws it in front of him. By the time Li's vision clears, the creature is gone. Unfazed, Luo Xu calmly orders the medical team to move in. They quickly rush to carry away her injured assistant as the battlefield slowly quiets down. Far away on the shore, Lin Hao stares at the sky, haunted by the alien's words. The alien told him that Earth is nothing more than a hunting ground for them and that they awaken powerful mutant creatures just to hunt them for sport. That means every single mutant was awakened by the aliens, which makes Lin Hao wonder if he, too, is just another pawn in their twisted game. The system doesn't know much about that part, but it does know one thing: 3 different parties are now looking for Lin Hao. Still, Lin Hao was more focused on the deep water route he found leading from the lake to the mountain during the whirlpool incident. While trapped in it, he also got upgraded, unlocking a super rage skill that ignores cooldowns whenever he's badly injured. Excited about the power-up, Lin Hao listens as the system opens another chest, granting him a pink-eared skill, Scan. This lets him investigate creatures from long distances, revealing their basic information. Nice flute drop for our hero. After the whirlpool calms, Lin Hao makes up his mind, he'll take down the aliens even if it kills him. He also realizes that the metal sphere was what pushed him through the shortcut into the mountain, and that it couldn't have been random. Coming back to the present, Lin Hao wonders why the orb did that. The system speculates that maybe the aliens consider Lin Hao on the same level as the mutated creatures in the ruins. In other words, they tossed him into the mountain just to make him another target in their hunt. That thought hits hard. Lin Hao realizes he really might be part of their game. But before he can dwell on it, the ground begins to shake. He looks up and sees more meteors crashing down from the sky. Looking at them, he knows that these aren't the real hunters yet, just the aliens arriving to awaken the prey. Determined to deal with the vanguard aliens quickly, Lin Hao braces himself. But to his shock, the earth splits apart as the mountain itself seems to cave in. From the massive cracks, a huge, terrifying creature emerges with a roar that shakes the land. Back with the dragon team, an agent named Lai is busy interrogating an alien who claims there's a really strong creature lurking in the area. As Li questions him about his purpose, the alien gets cocky and threatens him. So Li just slices his head off in a single swing. Problem solved. While he's dealing with that, another alien tries to sneak up from behind, but Luoqiu arrives just in time and slashes it down. She tells Li he shouldn't fight alone, but Li clearly doesn't like how the dragon team's other divisions operate. As she presses him, Li casually reveals he knows she let that creature go on purpose. Luoqiu freezes for a second, but before the tension can thicken, the alien on the ground starts mocking them, saying that even Li's fancy suit 3 is nothing but basic armor to them. Li, not having it, leans in to intimidate him and declares he'll use him for interrogation since the alien clearly knows a lot. But before he can get too far, both of their ears are blasted by a loud, eardrum-piercing roar that rattles the air. The fallen alien laughs, excited, saying that's their backup arriving. Meanwhile, over at the mountain, Lin Hao is now staring down a mutant earth dragon with a combat strength of 404. He is hyped to see his new skill actually works, but is also shocked that a giant mutated worm managed to level up into this monster. Before he can make another sarcastic comment, the worm suddenly lunges at him. Lin Hao barely dodges by inches, his heart racing. Even though he evaded, he knows one clean hit from that thing would have shattered him into pieces. The worm, not backing down, follows up with a flurry of attacks, but Lin Hao manages to dodge them all, though he's confused as hell about how it even knows his position without having eyes. As he's still processing that, the worm suddenly lunges right on top of him. Lin Hao barely manages to sidestep, realizing this thing is getting faster and faster. Out of nowhere, the worm's massive body smacks him, sending him crashing to the ground. Despite its bulky body, it's way too fast. With that insane speed, it grabs Lin Hao and slams him down again, carving a massive crater in the earth. This enrages our hero, who scoffs, asking if that's really all the monster's got. With that, Lin Hao powers up, fires scales blazing, and charges straight into the beast, chomping down with a savage bite. To his shock, his bite literally starts melting its skin. Just one swing of the worm's body sends him flying again, crashing into a nearby mountain. That's when Lin Hao realizes this monster is also getting stronger. A quick glance shows its combat strength has increased. Not knowing what is going on, Lin Hao decides to screw it, it's time to go super rage mode. His body surges with power as he transforms into a full-on raid boss, ready to go all out on this beast. As the monster charges at him with its mouth wide open, Lin Hao, loading up his own body with powerful energy, grabs its teeth. He then literally picks up the worm and slams it into the ground, creating a loud, earth-shaking blast. Not stopping there, Lin Hao follows up by slashing the monster across its body with his razor-sharp claws. Our hero is in a full-on rage now, and despite the monster already being basically done for, he just keeps burning it, tearing it apart from the inside out. He's going absolutely wild, his strength enhanced to insane levels. After a while, Lin Hao finally finishes devouring the beast. Exhausted, he realizes just how massive that thing really was. The system quickly shields him, since he's weakened from the aftermath of his rage spell. While he's resting, use arrow up and arrow down to select a turn, enter to jump to it, and escape to return to the chat. A system notification popped up, showing he had gained a whopping 120,000 evolution points, making the guide realize this boy was absurdly lucky. Meanwhile, back near the shore, Luoxiu and Li, the action team captain, were escorting the captured alien back to headquarters for interrogation. On their way, Luoxiu pointed out that the aliens had jammed their communication, so they would have to walk all the way back to base. Hearing that, the alien mocked them, laughing that they couldn't do anything since the creature was already awake and far stronger than they could ever imagine. But then, as they were walking, Luoxiu suddenly stopped as something stood in front of her. To their shock, it was another powerful-looking alien, ready for a fight. Without hesitation, both Luoxiu and Li charged toward him, but to Li's horror, his blade cracked on impact. The alien followed up with a brutal punch, sending Li crashing into the ground. Luoxiu rushed over, helped him up, and told him to rest and try contacting headquarters, since he had already burned through much of his strength. As Luoxiu squared up to face the threat, Li warned her to watch out for the alien's blade and armor set. No matter what, they just had to hold out until backup arrived. Hearing that, Luoxiu launched herself at the alien, striking with everything she had. But the alien casually blocked her attack, then slipped behind her for a counter. Luoxiu, quick on her feet, managed to dodge but realized this alien was far too fast. She was barely keeping up. Worse, its attacks were insanely sharp and relentless, as if it didn't know the meaning of fatigue. Loading up more power, the alien charged straight at Luoxiu and knocked her to the ground. It then turned its attention back to Li, clearly aiming to finish him off. But to everyone's shock, something intercepted the alien's strike mid-air. Dust clouds exploded around them, and when it cleared, Li was stunned to see the alien was completely gone. No trace at all. Li muttered in disbelief, still trying to process what had just happened. Luoxiu, catching her breath, pointed toward the massive footprints left behind, evidence that another presence had stepped in. The sight left Li shocked. Not only had the creature spared them, but it had also carried the alien away. Luoxiu assured him that the being might be something different, something special, and insisted that this incident should not be reported to headquarters since it did not appear to be a threat. Li, though reluctant, agreed for the time being, and the two of them headed back. Elsewhere along the shore, Lin Hao dragged himself out of the water with the alien in tow, and slammed it hard against a nearby rock. The alien, dazed and battered, stared at him in disbelief, wondering if Lin Hao had awakened as well, and had only intervened because he noticed its distress. That hope quickly died. Channeling fiery energy, Lin Hao's grin turned wicked as flames erupted across his hands. He revealed that the worm the alien was waiting for was already in his stomach, and soon the alien itself would be joining it. After some effort, Lin Hao managed to devour the entire alien body but was instantly disgusted as it tasted like a tire. When the system asked if he had actually eaten a tire, Lin Hao joked that if eating tires helped him level up, everyone would have ditched cars and gone on foot a long time ago. With that, he suddenly received a notification that he had completed the difficult missions of devouring both a level 1 and a level 2 creature. Out of nowhere, 2 lightning bolts formed and were absorbed into his body. Lin Hao felt his eyes tinkle, refreshed as if some weird enhancement had just kicked in. When he opened them again, he was shocked that he could now see for incredible distances, like a living telescope. He could even spot the dragon team's camp from far away. On top of that, his breathing felt sharper and more controlled. Hearing this, the guide pointed out it might be connected to his core systems. Focusing back on reality, he realized that despite the dragon team doing their best to protect the city, their manpower must be lacking against all these unexpected alien ships. He admitted he had underestimated both the dragon team and the organization and decided it was time to re-evaluate them. With that, he made up his mind to help the dragon team clear the battlefield. Meanwhile, inside the civilization ruins, Luoxiu and her team were on edge. The frozen creature they had been guarding was showing more and more cracks in its icy prison. Everyone feared it was about to wake up. But according to Luoxiu, they still hadn't detected any real signs of life, so it was uncertain whether the thing was alive or not. Some of her men suggested contacting the action team for backup, but Luoxiu shut that down, saying they were busy waiting on new armor upgrades. Just then, one of her men rushed in with bad news. The organization had leaked all their information. As Luoxiu was processing the situation, Li showed up carrying a box containing a suit, revealing that he had found it hidden in the mountains. Luoxiu immediately realized it must have belonged to the alien Lin Hao had dealt with earlier. When she opened the box, she was stunned to see a level 2 armor and sword inside. According to her, level 3 was the lowest and easiest to obtain, so getting a level 2 was a super rare feat. Li added that at headquarters, they only had level 3 suits. If someone wanted a level 2, they had to earn it by passing a special test inside the ruins. Not only that, but it was notoriously hard to get. Many people had lost their lives chasing it. Lee went on to say he had actually found 5 of these suits. This gets Luoqiu excited, thinking it must be thanks to that special friend of hers. As they're talking, the cave walls suddenly start shaking, making Luoqiu realize the alien must be trying to wake the T-Rexes. Meanwhile on the surface, Lin Hao, fresh off taking down another alien, also hears the strange signal, feeling like something is literally calling him. Suddenly, countless colorful beams shoot across the floor, and right in the middle of them floats that same mysterious orb from before. Lin Hao rushes to grab it, but the orb vanishes instantly. The system shakes him awake, and that's when he realizes it wasn't gone, the orb was inside his mind. To him, it feels like someone is resonating with him, and he quickly pieces it together. It must be the eel organization. Lin Hao figures out they deliberately placed that orb to help the aliens wake up the monsters. Without wasting a second, he charges off toward the frequency source. Meanwhile, the system, busy praising herself as always, notices her reckless boy has already run off, so she decides to follow him. Near the civilization ruins, Lin Hao uses camouflage to lurk around but is confused that he hasn't sensed the aura of the T-Rex, which means they're still asleep. He also realizes that the metal orb might be the key to waking those T-Rexes, and someone from the dragon team is definitely suspicious for trying to do it. Soon, he spots what looks like a traitor walking around. Lin Hao follows the man, and once he enters the cave, the man pulls a small glowing ball from his pocket, muttering that it's his mission to awaken the T-Rexes. Lin Hao, not the type to just sit quietly, blasts a fire beam right at his hand. Startled, the man whips out his pistol and, upon seeing Lin Hao, starts unloading bullets, screaming monster. However, not a single bullet even leaves a scratch on him. Lin Hao casually grabs the man by the neck, but to his surprise, the man has a hidden device in his arm. He triggers it, and a massive blast erupts. But when the smoke clears, Lin Hao walks out completely unscathed. More shocked that the man tried to take himself out just as to get rid of him. Processing this, Lin Hao suddenly hears heavy gunfire coming from inside the civilization ruins. Inside, the dragon team is unleashing everything they have on something: tanks, machine guns, the works. After a while of non-stop fire, the agent Lee signals everyone to stop while Luoqiu wonders if the thing is finally dead. But as the smoke settles, that Rex stomps out, completely unharmed and absolutely furious. Seeing this, Lee realizes normal bullets won't do anything against this beast, so he starts firing his lightning arrows. But to his shock, the moment one arrow hits the T-Rex's eye, it just reflects right off. Luoqiu, however, points out that even though it looked useless, it actually did damage the eye a little. She tells him to keep going. Hearing that, Lee starts shooting again, aiming directly at the creature's eyes, and this time it works. However, it only makes the creature even more enraged, and it starts charging straight at the dragon team. The soldiers, seeing it coming, are panicking while Luoqiu whips out her otherworldly metal-forged sword to test it on the T-Rex. She also orders the one with the number 2 suit to lead everyone outside, and get ready to execute the final plan if things go south. As they're still processing, the T-Rex is already upon them. But just as it's about to strike, a blazing fire beam slams into it, sending the massive beast flying. The T-Rex screeches as its body burns while Lin Hao charges in, latching onto its face with a vicious bite. The T-Rex thrashes and retaliates, knocking Lin Hao back, but our hero doesn't feel a single ounce of pain in his rage mode. While this chaos is unfolding, Luoqiu leaps into action too, launching herself into the air and slashing at the T-Rex's tail. To her surprise, the blade actually works, so she tosses the sword over to Lin Hao, telling him to go for its eyes. Catching the sword midair, Lin Hao springs up, aiming for the creature's head. But before he can land the strike, the T-Rex chomps down and shatters the sword into pieces. Lin Hao doesn't stop. He immediately follows up by blasting a fiery beam straight into the T-Rex's eyes, making it roar in agony. But then, multiple warning screens suddenly pop up from the system. As Lin Hao glances up, he notices hundreds of missiles streaking toward their location. Seeing this, Lin Hao can't help but wonder if, after all that, they are actually trying to get rid of him, too. As the blast hit, Lin Hao remembered cutting down the T-Rex with a level 2 sword, only to get smacked down by its tail. While he was down, he also recalled the hundreds of missiles raining toward him. Back in the present, Lin Hao wakes up thanks to a slap from the system. To his excitement, he realizes he's back in his pond. The system, seeing his excitement, calmly informs him that he fell into a coma after the fight. Just as the explosions were about to hit, she managed to teleport him back. However, when Lin Hao asks about it, she reveals that the mutant wasn't even hurt by the explosions since its skin is ridiculously tough. She also drops the bomb that Lin Hao was unconscious for 1.5 days. Hearing this, Lin Hao immediately decides to head back and check things out. Using teleportation, he flashes straight toward the civilization ruins. While speeding along, the system wonders why he's in such a rush, to which Lin Hao cheekily replies that he wants to be in the show. After all, the Dragon Team's bombing might have gravely injured the pests, and it could be by the riverside healing. Sure enough, as Lin Hao reached the river, his guess proved correct. The T-Rex was there, munching on a deer. Using his camouflage ability, Lin Hao snuck up from behind and created a cloud of fiery smoke as a distraction. Taking advantage of the moment, he quickly lunged in and bit down hard on the T-Rex's leg. However, the T-Rex reacted instinctively, scooping Lin Hao into its mouth. This was exactly what Lin Hao had planned. From the inside, he unleashed his thorn scales, shocking the monster from within. Then he intensified his attack, targeting the T-Rex's insides and engulfing them in flames. In no time, smoke started pouring out of the creature's body as it collapsed to the ground. Lin Hao had effectively cooked it from the inside out. As the beast fell, the stench grew overwhelming, making the guide gag in disgust. Lin Hao, however, just grinned and assured her it was all part of his plan. Not wasting a second, he jumped right back into devouring the T-Rex. Meanwhile, back in the city hospital, both Luoxiu and Li were receiving treatment for their injuries when they both received calls at the same time. On the line, headquarters was demanding explanations about the other mutated creature that had appeared during the battle. Just as Luoxiu was about to reveal who it was, Li's assistant barged in, claiming it was a dragon. To their shock, he informed them that a dragon-like creature had been spotted in the city's pond. Seeing the live feed, everyone was stunned. Social media was also buzzing non-stop about mutated creatures appearing and wreaking havoc in the city. The news about the dragon sighting in the pond stirred widespread panic. Meanwhile, in the Dragon Team conference room, Jun asked Luoxiu for her opinion. According to her, it was probably some kind of mutated snake-like reptile, but she definitely didn't believe it was a real dragon. Jiani agreed, saying they needed to calm the public, spin the story to their advantage, and keep the organization away from the situation. Li, however, pointed out that the rumors were all over the place. Some said it was a filming crew, while others thought it was just a movie prop. He suggested deleting social media posts about it so people would soon forget. Back at the pond, Lin Hao had massively transformed into a long, serpentine beast. He was now level 40 with nearly 500 strength and a host of powerful new skills. Even he was shocked that devouring the T-Rex had given him such an insane amount of evolution points, wondering why he hadn't done it earlier. Looking at his reflection, he realized he was basically a full-fledged flood dragon now. If this kept up, he might just evolve into a real dragon. According to the guide, he didn't even need a dragon gate to ascend anymore. However, she reminded him that he needed to head back to the mountains. Back there, Lin Hao started clearing the rubble blocking the entrance to the civilization ruins. He was eager to explore, but while he was busy chatting with the guide about turning back into a human to save energy, he suddenly noticed a rat scurrying out of the cave. It was then followed by a thunderous horde of countless rats, leaving Lin Hao utterly confused. He wondered if their awakening goal was complete, and that's why they were all retreating. With that thought, he transformed back into his human form and crawled deeper into the cave. Inside, he found other ancient animals preserved in tubes. The two T-Rexes were shocking enough, but Lin Hao never expected to see so many extinct creatures here. Even crazier, they all seemed to be mutated. As he was processing all this, he heard Luoxiu's team approaching and quickly hid. Luoxiu entered with her squad, pointing out that these ruins were ridiculously hard to destroy and contained advanced tools that their current world's scientists couldn't comprehend. Her assistant wondered aloud if all of it was left behind by some ancient civilization. However, Li denied that, revealing that powerful advanced civilizations might have come to Earth and left these relics behind long before the birth of humans. He also claimed that the alien they encountered might have been here to awaken these creatures, though they still didn't know the exact purpose. As they shifted their focus back to finding equipment, Lin Hao, lurking nearby, swore to protect Luoxiu at all costs. Once they left, he got excited, realizing there were tons of creatures here he could eat to speed up his evolution. But the guide suggested he first check their stats. Lin Hao listened, only to be completely shocked when he found nothing. That's when it hit him. These creatures were all dead. Lin Hao wondered if they still had evolution points, but the guide just mocked him for even asking. Soon after, Lin Hao received his reward for devouring the mutated T-Rex, something called the Scale of Mystical Iron. He was surprised to see a progress bar, since he usually received rewards randomly. This time, he also got a chest, and when he opened it, he found the Cord and Claws skill, which made his claws look far sharper. To test it out, Lin Hao slashed at a nearby rock and, to his surprise, left deep claw marks in it. Even missiles hadn't been strong enough to do that, but thanks to his new skill, he pulled it off. However, Lin Hao suddenly realized there was more. He notices a strange symbol on the screen and presses it. As soon as he does, it opens up his map and teleports him back into his pond. He's completely confused about what just happened, and even the system doesn't know anything about it. Lin Hao soon realizes that if that's the case, then the place must actually be hidden in the depths of the pond. So, without wasting time, he goes straight down. The deeper he goes, the eerier it gets, so quiet that he starts wondering if all the creatures just vanish. Suddenly, smoke starts rising from the sieve, followed by a massive blast that sends debris flying everywhere. As the dust and rubble settle, Lin Hao is shocked to see what looks like a whirlpool forming right in front of him. This makes him realize a brand new area just opened up. But to his horror, a rank 4 mutant creature with a power level of 778 comes charging straight at him. As our hero notices it, weird bubbles start forming all around him, blocking his vision. The creature catches up, and just as it's about to strike, Lin Hao spots it and blasts out his own fire beam, resulting in a massive collision. To Lin Hao's shock, the thing actually manages to punch through his fire beam and sends him flying. This makes him even more pissed, so he starts channeling his fiery scale spell. But before he can let it rip, he suddenly gets smacked with a frost beam. Lin Hao, seeing that for the first time, is stunned. He's surprised, but he also knows it's time to teach this creature a lesson, so he charges straight at it. Lin Hao manages to bite down on its arm and immediately feels the icy coldness seeping into his bite. Before he can react, the creature slashes him with its frost claws, and Lin Hao realizes those claws are no joke. Every hit cuts deep. The creature pauses for a second, then charges again. This time, it manages to pierce straight through Lin Hao's body with its spikes. Despite the pain, our hero retaliates by slashing its tentacles clean off. Knowing he's at his limit, Lin Hao decides it's time to unleash rage mode. Even though he's worried about the other creatures lurking around, he knows this is about survival. The moment he transforms, the power surge alone burns away the creature's tentacles. Without wasting a second, Lin Hao barrels forward and collides with it head-on. As they collide, Lin Hao manages to get the upper hand, sending the creature flying back. In his Devil Lord form, he mocks it, asking how it's planning to heal from the fire. Instead of coming at him again, the monster decides to retreat, but Lin Hao isn't the type to just let it slide. With a flash, he charges after it. Catching up, Lin Hao slams into its back, making it scream in pain. Despite the creature retaliating, Lin Hao digs his claws deep into its skin and pins it to the ground. The monster tries to shoot out its frosty beam, but against Lin Hao's rage form, it's useless. With pure fury, Lin Hao presses harder into its body, burning it to a crisp. Finally calming down, Lin Hao realizes the creature might actually be dead, but he also notices he might have used way too much of his power. Exhausted, he collapses unconscious while the system sighs in annoyance, already preparing to clean up his mess again. Meanwhile, in the Dragon Team conference room, Xian briefs everyone that headquarters is now very interested in the lizard creature that took down the Pests, and they want to capture it. Li leans in and asks if Luoxu has decided to tell him the truth. To his shock, she stands up and reveals that she knows this creature has saved them multiple times, and has never shown aggression toward them. Li backs her up, vouching that it really has helped them a lot. However, one team member opposes it, arguing that mutated creatures are too unpredictable and can never be trusted. For this, Luoxu suggests tracking it without capturing it, but the opposing team member still doesn't see the point. So, she slams down the level 2 suit sword, claiming it was thanks to that mutated creature who somehow seems to know exactly what they need. The man agrees with her, but still insists they report to headquarters, claiming strange things like this are happening all over the world. Luoxu, agreeing, leaves to meet Jian, but deep down she knows this is all she can do for Lin Hao for now. Back in the water, Lin Hao wakes up after a good night's sleep. The system, however, is exhausted from all this chaos. Lin Hao just brushes her off, which only annoys her more. So she points at the monster fish corpse and tells him to hurry up and eat it since it smells terrible. As Lin Hao devours it, he suddenly gets the mythical iron scale skill. And right after that, a purple orb appears above his head, transforming his entire body. Immediately, Lin Hao feels much stronger, and his defensive sturdiness shoots way up. On top of that, he also receives a hidden reward that lets him merge his skills. Of course, our hero wastes no time and merges them instantly, gaining a buff to his mythical iron scale that lets him return one of the damage back to his enemy. He's excited at first, but then realizes it's only one. Still, he brushes it off as it's better than nothing. While he's busy admiring his new power, Lin Hao suddenly notices the city river's water level is rising, and it's coming from the hole where he fought that monster earlier. Realizing it might hold more treasures, Lin Hao dives right in, but as he goes deeper, he's shocked at how pitch black it is down there. Even so, he keeps diving further and further, only to be stunned when he touches the wall and realizes the entire tunnel is made of metal. It wouldn't hurt to try, right? He swiped his claws down. Scrape. Lin Hao's expression suddenly changed. In an instant, he frowned. It was just as he had predicted. He exclaimed, "This wall seems to be made of metal." The scene before him was like a dark, starless night. Suddenly, a few specks of light flickered. One speck, then two, then more, appearing like a sea of stars in the darkness. Lin Hao looked ahead, frowning slightly. He had already made a guess. He muttered, "Are they coming again?" Just as he predicted, what looked like fairy dust from afar turned out to be a swarm of crazed axolotls swimming rapidly towards him with looks of resentment. After assessing the situation, Lin Hao scoffed, "You can't beat me 1-on-1, so now you're ganging up on me. How cowardly. Even if you bring 500 more, you're just here to die." Lin Hao stretched and activated his muscles, releasing a domineering aura. His muscles were firm, and streams of red energy swirled around him. He calmly looked at the axolotls and said, "You've come at the right time. Let me test out my new claws." Seeing that they were swimming too slowly, he took the initiative and dashed toward them, causing the group to momentarily scatter in surprise. With just a few skilled maneuvers, Lin Hao weaved through them, swiping his claws. Before they could even react, their bodies were severed. A gruesome red dyed the area, and the smell of rust was suffocating. He swiftly moved past the 500 axolotls, then kindly stroked the head of the last one in line. One of the axolotls, seeing its leader about to be destroyed, immediately gathered energy, puffed up its cheeks, widened its eyes, and spat a large blast of ice toward Lin Hao. Every move was captured by Lin Hao's eyes. He smirked, revealing his sharp teeth as flames resembling lava flickered at the corners of his mouth. In an instant, he retaliated with a blast of lava that swept toward the enemy. His hand, still stroking the head of the last axolotl, left behind a charred corpse in the water, accompanied by a mournful cry before it sank. In the next second, like a whirlwind, he crushed the head of the last one as if crushing a grape. He then swiftly moved toward the others, so fast that only his afterimage could be seen. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of them. Before they could react, he had already grabbed their necks with his claws, squeezing tighter and tighter, causing them to struggle and scream in pain. To avoid their ear-piercing screams, Lin Hao quickly snapped their necks with clean, efficient motions. And just like that, the world returned to its original peace. But the smell of rust grew stronger, staining his vision red. Ding, mutated tier-free hexagonal dragonfish detected. Receive 80,000 evolution points. Seeing the tens of thousands of points displayed, Lin Hao's eyes lit up, and he grinned excitedly. "Come on, keep coming. Come on out, I want more." To find more, Lin Hao quickly swam forward, heading toward the depths and slicing through the water. Suddenly, a beam of light appeared in front of him, blinding him. He quickly shielded his eyes and exclaimed, "There's light coming from that crack." As he got used to the light source, he became curious and approached to see what was on the other side. The sound of machinery echoed. The light gradually extended, following curved lines that connected to each other and led deep inside. Lin Hao was stunned, frozen in place, looking at what was happening before him. He couldn't help but be amazed. Oh my god. He looked left and right, surveying his surroundings. A sense of unease suddenly welled up in his heart, but he couldn't explain why. The guide swung closer to a wall, pressed her ear against it, and knocked a few times. Then she turned to Lin Hao and said, "There's something behind these walls." He scanned the area, and finally calmly replied, "That's right. It's this feeling." Hearing this, the guide silently looked ahead, not saying anything. She seemed to understand something. Then Lin Hao continued, "If this place has equipment for confinement and surveillance, it would be unbelievable if there wasn't something strange going on. If someone intentionally built this, then it proves one thing." Lin Hao slowly said, "Under the pond, there's such a large structure. Could it be?" While they were both pondering, the answer clicked into place for both of them at once. Their eyes widened as they looked ahead, exclaiming in unison, "The ruins of a civilization." Below them, they discovered the giant, white skeleton of an unknown creature. Judging by its immense size, It was clear that when this creature was alive, it had been an enormous entity. Lin Hao stared at it intently. Bones this large. The original creature was massive. While observing, he noticed something peculiar on the skeleton, and reached out to examine it carefully. What on earth is this? Suddenly, the sound of machinery echoed again in an eerie series of clicks and whirs that would make one's hair stand on end. The equipment began to shift as the machinery powered on. Lin Hao stared blankly, his eyes widening in shock as a magnificent scene of advanced technology unfolded before him. Even at such a depth underwater, the water didn't affect its operation at all, and there were no signs of damage. So there are even larger ruins underneath the pond, he thought. Remembering the two aliens that had appeared earlier, he mused, perhaps what they're looking for is right here. So their appearance at the pond had a reason. The questions were now being answered. But as he thought about it, a new question arose. Lin Hao narrowed his eyes, looking at the machinery with curiosity. Then why didn't they send people from the eel organization to awaken these ruins? Do the aliens not completely trust them? Let's go ahead and see what's going on through the gate. As they approached, the door opened automatically. I thought there would be security or something, he thought. This is convenient. No need to break the door. They went deeper inside. On both sides were tanks with a greenish liquid, seemingly nurturing something inside. Lin Hao observed them all. Was that mutated hexagonal dragonfish from here? As they walked around, he was suddenly drawn to a creature right in front of him. He stopped to look. In a large tank, a giant creature resembling a dinosaur appeared. What's this? This huge monster. Information about the creature appeared. Flame-scale giant Tyrannosaurus. Combat power, unknown. Its body was as tall as a building, even bigger than a telephone pole. Just seeing it was terrifying. Luckily, its combat power is weak. Because it hasn't awakened, he muttered. This thing looks hard to deal with. Let's keep going and see what else is here. One tank on the left, one on the right. Something seems off, Lin Hao said, looking back and forth between two empty tanks. There are two mutated creatures that have awakened, but I only met one. Where's the other one? The system, with her hands on her hips, pointed upwards with her finger, signaling him with her eyes. Lin Hao immediately understood. He looked toward the front of the tank and said, oh, right. The rotten corpses in the hallway must have been killed by the mutated hexagonal dragonfish. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Hao offered his thoughts. It's not surprising that the aliens couldn't awaken all the mutated creatures at once. If they gathered together, they would kill each other. This is highly likely, as the two empty tanks and the large skeleton we saw earlier provide clues. They continued forward. What's going on? Lin Hao was stunned. In front of them was a massive, sealed door. What does this mean? A level 1 security door. He tried to tap the barrier with his hand. There was no reaction. He could tell from the sound that this door was quite thick. Lin Hao looked at the door and fell into deep thought. The ruins at Mount Li didn't have a door like this. Could it be that the bottom of this pond is even more dangerous than Mount Li? The system just listened quietly, not speaking, staring at the door and her host. Everything here was very foreign to human understanding. Another layer of mystery. Why are there a million questions? Lin Hao exclaimed. These ruins must have existed before humans. What kind of creature built them? Those green warrior aliens couldn't have. It must have been a more intelligent, advanced creature. Mentioning them suddenly gave him a very unpleasant feeling. Lin Hao's expression suddenly darkened, his eyes filling with resentment. The guide, noticing his mood change in an instant, asked, why this sudden resentment? Shaking his head, he sighed, you wouldn't understand. It isn't resentment. It's a feeling I can't seem to escape, even after dying once. Just as he was sinking into despair, the sharp crack of shattering glass cut through the silence. Lin Hao's head snapped up. Who cracked? He shouted, looking around. In the distance, a faint red light pulsed from one of the tanks, radiating a stream of dark energy. A system notification appeared. Tier 3 mutated man-eating fish. Combat power, unknown. Great, he muttered. I'd better strike first before that thing breaks out and tears me to pieces. Attack first, ask questions later. He lunged forward, his sharp claws piercing downwards. Sparks flew. If you want to crack, I'll help you. Strangely, there was no reaction. The tank already had a crack caused by the creature inside, but his sharp claws were ineffective. They didn't even leave a scratch. Lin Hao was stunned. My attack is useless against this glass. My corrosive claws can't even make a dent. How thick is this thing? Inside the tank, a pair of eyes slowly opened. Golden pupils and sharp teeth flashed into view through the crack. The creature inside slammed violently against the tank's walls. Crack, the spiderweb of crack spread rapidly. Before long, with a final shudder, the thick glass shattered into pieces. Looks like this thing can only be broken from the inside, Lin Hao exclaimed. As he stood there observing, the fish, sensing a living creature nearby, burst from the tank and lunged toward him. It opened its golden eyes, baring its sharp teeth as it rapidly approached. "You just woke up, and you're already picking a fight," he exclaimed. "Why is this one so aggressive?" It opened its mouth wide and swung quickly towards Lin Hao. Realizing he was the target, he quickly used his tail to block the bite. The fish bit down hard. Lin Hao looked at the small, ferocious-looking creature and remarked, seriously, "You're attacking from every direction. What's your deal?" He blinked, looking at the small fish. It seemed enraged by his casual attitude, its sharp teeth continuing to bite down. "It looks fierce, but it has no real power," he thought. "Is that all you've got?" In the next second, Lin Hao whipped his tail, flinging the fish high into the air. It shot upwards like a shooting star. "Go play up there," he snorted. He had initially thought its attack power would be significant. The fish flew up and then, due to gravity, bounced off the other tanks like a pinball before finally coming to a stop, lying motionless and unconscious on the ground. Lin Hao approached, extending his claws to grab it. Young and inexperienced, he chuckled, easily picking it up. "This thing probably melts in your mouth." He grabbed its tail and swallowed it whole. System notification. Swallowed a tier 3 mutated piranha. Received 70,000 evolution points. As he chewed and swallowed the tender meat, he smiled with satisfaction, not forgetting to praise the fish. "The taste is pretty good. It's really soft and juicy." While he was enjoying his meal, he suddenly heard another cracking sound. He turned his gaze toward the source of the noise. "What was that sound?" he exclaimed. As they approached the tank, a million questions popped into his head. "I hit that other tank with my claws, and it didn't even flinch. Now just a little touch, and this one's cracked. What's going on? Isn't this thing supposed to be unbreakable from the outside?" He looked at the tank with a skeptical expression. "Or is it because of its body structure?" He turned to the guide. "That bone on the piranha's back." The guide stroked her chin, her brow furrowed in thought. "No, that can't be it. The hardness of that bone isn't even 1,000th of this glass. Then why did the tank crack? Is there another reason?" He mused, stroking his own chin. Suddenly, he had a thought, his eyes widening. "It's that metal orb, the one on the mountain." "Based on what you've said, that makes sense," the guide replied. "If that orb is stimulating the creatures inside, causing them to awaken. The tank breaking is understandable, but that piranha's body was too weak. It wasn't strong enough to break the tank on its own. So why did it crack?" They both looked around at the other tanks, then fell silent. The system seemed to have a thought. "Could it be because of you?" she asked him. Lin Hao looked confused, pointing at himself. Then, as if he'd realized something, he crossed his arms and looked at her. "Is it because it sensed the presence of its own kind and awakened?" But that explanation seems a bit too simplistic. "It's one possible explanation, although there's no concrete evidence," the sister replied. Since thinking about it didn't yield a definitive answer, they decided to leave it for later. He extended his hand, and a small flame appeared in his palm. He looked at the tanks, his gaze fallen on the cracked one. "It wasn't because of its own kind," he mused. "It was because of me." He then opened the system interface. Teleport activated. A circle of light immediately appeared, enveloping them both. Lin Hao exclaimed, "We have to get out of here first." He pressed the button, and in an instant, they both vanished. The scene shifted to Dragon Pond. After teleporting away from the ruins, Lin Hao observed the location, and discovered something. The location of these ruins is too unique. It's not only underwater, but also beneath a busy marketplace. That makes it difficult to deal with. If it were in a desolate area, it would be much easier to handle, but with so many people around, the impact of a disaster would be huge. While underwater, he suddenly heard voices from above. "The water level at Dragon Pond has risen a lot. The plants here are also very beautiful. Whoa, look at the carp here. They're so big." Lin Hao and the system both looked up toward the source of the voices. On the surface, a man was looking down at the lake from the railing. He gently said to his daughter, "I told you this place has spiritual energy. Every time I finish praying to the Dragon King, my luck becomes extremely good." The little girl looked down at the lake, and turned to her father with a smile. "Is there really a Dragon King here who grants blessings?" "Dragon King?" Lin Hao stared up at the father and daughter, his eyes wide. He remained motionless, his face blank. Hearing this, the system burst into laughter, covering her mouth and looking at Lin Hao. "Oh, you're doing quite well for yourself, Dragon King." He remembered one of his own skills. "That's right, I have this one." He quickly opened the system interface to check. He scratched his head, his eyes half closed. "So that's what auspicious guardian means. I always wondered what this skill did." He waved his hand dismissively. "But now it seems I am not so auspicious anymore. Could that mutated hexagonal dragonfish have awakened so quickly because of my influence? Should I leave Dragon Pond?" He wondered. "If my presence is causing problems, it's best to move." The system, hearing her host muttering and questioning himself, said, "Right now, it's just a suspicion. There's no concrete evidence that you're the one affecting the creatures in the ruins. And if you move, where would you go?" Lin Hao crossed his R's, thinking, then said, "I really don't want Dragon Pond to become like Mount Lai. Fighting at Mount Li was already a huge mess. If this lake becomes like that too, it will be exhausting." A system notification popped up. New quest added. Super difficult quest. Swallow a tier 5 mutated seal. Reward. Pink treasure chest. A new quest. Whoa, a pink treasure chest. Lin Hao's eyes lit up. It must be a very generous reward. On the sea, a fishing boat was drifting, searching for a suitable fishing spot. The fisherman pulled up his net. "Whoa, a big catch. These fish will sell for a lot of money." It was a net full of fresh fish. The man grabbed the net and walked toward his young daughter. She immediately ran to him, smiling brightly. "That's great. When we get home, I'll pick a big fish for Mom to make grilled redfish." The father, hearing this, smiled and ruffled her hair. All right. As the two were chatting happily, the child suddenly stared at something behind her father, her eyes widening first in surprise, then in fear. She pointed behind him, shouting, "Dad, what's that?" The man didn't understand what she meant and quickly turned around. To his horror, giant tentacles were attacking his boat. The man shouted, "Monster! There's a monster!" In his panic, he didn't know what to do. The tentacles wrapped around his boat, and more tentacles spread out, crawling over the entire vessel. Use arrow up and arrow down to select a turn, enter to jump to it, and escape to return to the chat. Soon, the boat would sink to the bottom of the sea, leaving no trace. The man quickly grabbed the child. "Run!" he yelled. The child was terrified. "What do we do, Dad?" Overwhelmed by the size of the approaching tentacles, the man ran to an empty spot on the deck and put the child down. He quickly grabbed an iron bar, shouting, "Go get the gasoline." He then stayed behind to block the tentacles, preventing them from approaching the cabin. Seeing that the child had run inside, the man felt a sliver of relief. He used all his might to wield the iron bar, fighting desperately against the monstrous limbs. The child quickly ran into the cabin where the gasoline was kept. She grabbed the can and was about to run out when suddenly a force seized her waist and lifted her into the air. In her panic, she dropped the can and screamed, "Help!" A tentacle lifted her out of the cabin and high into the air. In her terror, she could only shout, "Dad, save me." Terrified at the sight of his daughter being lifted into the air, the man was distracted, allowing another tentacle to seize the opportunity and grab him. The father and daughter were now helpless, like fish on a chopping board. "This is it," he thought. "This is how it ends." Just as he thought his life as a fisherman was over, a powerful force suddenly struck, shattering the tentacles. With a sound that pierced the heavens, the severed limbs fell. The child, no longer supported, began to fall. Lin Hao leaped out of the water, catching her and landing gently on the deck of the ship. Struck by the powerful blow, the tentacles quickly released the man and the boat, retreating back into the sea. Lin Hao immediately jumped off the boat, plunging back into the water. The boat, freed from the creature's grasp, bobbed on the surface. The waves calmed, and the sea grew peaceful, as if the tentacles had never appeared, as if it had all been a nightmare. The child quickly ran into her father's arms, excitedly pointing towards where Lin Hao had disappeared. She laughed and said, "Dad, a dragon saved us." The man, having escaped certain death, hugged his daughter tightly. He looked up in the direction she was pointing. Submerged beneath the sea, the guide and Lin Hao could clearly see the ship of the creature that had just attacked the boat. The more Lin Hao observed, the more familiar it seemed. "This attack pattern," he exclaimed. "Why does it feel so familiar? Could it really be an old acquaintance?" He gazed into the distance, his mind racing. "Fate is playing tricks on me." Then, as if he had thought of something, Lin Hao quickly leaped out of the water and headed back towards the boat. The guide was bewildered by his actions, not understanding what he was planning. She hurriedly chased after him, asking, "Where are you going?" Hearing her question but unable to stop, Lin Hao could only hastily reply, "I'll explain later." He then increased his speed, slicing through the water and leaving her behind. On the surface, the fisherman's boat had returned to a state of calm. The fisherman held his daughter tightly, comforting her. "It's okay. Dad has called for help. We'll be home soon." As they sat there, a sudden gust of wind blew, propelling the boat forward. This startled them. They had just experienced a terrifying ordeal, and there were only the two of them on board. Neither of them was steering, so how was the boat moving? A sense of unease, greater than ever before, welled up in their hearts. Could it be that those tentacles had returned? The little girl, tears welling up in her eyes, looked at her father in fear and asked, "Dad, what's happening?" The father hugged his daughter, comforting her. He then immediately ran to the stern of the boat to assess the situation. He saw the dragon-like creature from before pushing the boat forward. The anxiety in his heart subsided slightly. He sighed with relief, and ran back to his daughter, hugging her and gently stroking her head. "It's okay. The dragon has come back to help us." The little girl, hearing this, was overjoyed and hugged her father. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she laughed and said, "The boat's moving." The boat traveled for a distance, away from where the attack had occurred. It was only a little further before they reached the shore. Lin Hao, judging the time was right, gradually slowed down and stopped. The father and daughter remained on the deck, looking out at the sea until the boat came to a complete stop. From afar, Lin Hao emerged from the water, looking at the two of them. They were overjoyed to see him. "It's the dragon. It really is the dragon. It's here," the guide shouted. Lin Hao glanced over. "Oh, crap," he exclaimed in surprise. "Oh my god. What is this thing?" From the deep sea, an extremely horrifying image emerged before them. A giant octopus with neon blue eyes fused with a giant crab with flat, golden eyes. From their perspective, Lin Hao and the guide were nothing more than tiny plankton in the vast ocean. The monstrous beast roared, shaking the entire sea. Lin Hao was stunned, his eyes wide as he asked himself, "Is this a crab or an octopus?" The guide didn't know either, but after observing the situation, she was sure of one thing. She turned to him and said, "You're in trouble, Lin Hao." He could only look silently at the mutated creature. Without a word, he shot forward like a cannonball, firing toward the crab-octopus hybrid. Moving with the speed of lightning, he shouted, "Strike fast, decide fast." A flash of red light aimed straight for the massive tentacles. Seeing the enemy approach, they thrashed wildly, trying to capture him. Tentacles converged from all directions, aiming for the center. Escaping seemed nearly impossible. The space grew quiet, but in an instant, the tentacles stirred. A powerful force erupted from within, destroying their barrier and blowing some of the tentacles away. With unimaginable speed, Lin Hao broke through the encirclement, roaring fiercely as he emerged from their grasp. With lightning speed, he arrived in front of the crab portion of the beast. He extended his claws, looking at its massive body and flat eyes, quickly assessing the situation, and exclaiming, "The only way to defeat a superior opponent is with speed." He was about to lunge when a fireball suddenly took shape in front of him. "What the hell?" he exclaimed in surprise. He hadn't misjudged it. The giant crab was spitting fire. Seeing that Lin Hao was about to engage in close combat, it quickly used its fire-breathing skill. A column of fire shot out from its mouth toward him, causing him to freeze for a moment. The blazing fire seemed so familiar. As it approached, he confirmed his suspicion. "Isn't this my crimson flame?" In a cozy room, Luoxu sat on the sofa, her fingers rapidly tapping on the keyboard. She muttered to herself, "Octopus." Lin Hao walked by, observing her serious demeanor. The laptop screen displayed an image of an octopus in motion. 3 hearts, 9 brains, and 2 memory systems, he read, astonished. "This octopus is incredibly powerful." Luoxu smiled upon hearing this. She then gently stroked his face, her eyes sparkling. Not only that, its structure is far more perfect than a human's. She began to analyze the functions of the tentacles, and how they work. Each of its tentacles has a secondary brain. When in danger, it can detach a tentacle to distract an enemy and escape. Through her explanation, Lin Hao came to understand even more about how octopuses perceive the world. The photoreceptor cells of octopuses are located on the outermost layer of their skin, distributing visual proteins, she said. This means they can see the world through their skin. For a mollusk, this is truly a pinnacle of evolution in the marine animal kingdom. Lin Hao was extremely excited. Like a child. His eyes widened as he turned to her and exclaimed, "Then they're invincible. Why haven't octopuses dominated the earth after all these years?" Hearing his question, Luoxu smiled. She began to explain the reason. like a teacher instructing a student. Because octopuses have a genetic lock. Simply put, their lifespan is too short, and they live solitary lives. Although their learning ability is very strong, their solitary nature prevents them from passing on their accumulated experience to the next generation. Oh, I see. His question answered. Lin Hao happily poked Luo Xu's cheek and said, octopuses are so scary. Let's have grilled octopus tonight. Okay, she smiled and nodded, looking at him affectionately. Lin Hao quickly dodged the monster's attack. He recognized the fire-breathing technique as his own, one he had used when he first encountered this creature. It's here, the guide shouted. Lin Hao glanced over. Oh, crap, he exclaimed in surprise. Oh my god, what is this thing? From the deep sea, an extremely horrifying image emerged before them, a giant octopus with neon blue eyes fused with a giant crab with flat, golden eyes. From their perspective, Lin Hao and the guide were nothing more than tiny plankton in the vast ocean. The monstrous beast roared, shaking the entire sea. Lin Hao was stunned, his eyes wide as he asked himself, is this a crab or an octopus? The guide didn't know either, but after observing the situation, she was sure of one thing. She turned to him and said, you're in trouble, Lin Hao. He could only look silently at the mutated creature. Without a word, he shot forward like a cannonball, firing toward the crab-octopus hybrid. Moving with the speed of lightning, he shouted, strike fast, decide fast. A flash of red light aimed straight for the mass of tentacles. Seeing the enemy approach, they thrashed wildly, trying to capture him. Tentacles converged from all directions, aiming for the center. Escaping seemed nearly impossible. The space grew quiet, but in an instant, the tentacles stirred. A powerful force erupted from within, destroying their barrier, and blowing some of the tentacles away. With unimaginable speed, Lin Hao broke through the encirclement, roaring fiercely as he emerged from their grasp. With lightning speed, he arrived in front of the crab portion of the beast. He extended his claws, looking at its massive body and flat eyes, quickly assessing the situation and exclaiming, the only way to defeat a superior opponent is with speed. He was about to lunge when a fireball suddenly took shape in front of him. What the hell? He exclaimed in surprise. He hadn't misjudged it, the giant crab was spitting fire. Seeing that Lin Hao was about to engage in close combat, it quickly used its fire-breathing skill. A column of fire shot out from its mouth toward him, causing him to freeze for a moment. The blazing fire seemed so familiar. As it approached, he confirmed his suspicion. Isn't this my crimson flame? In a cozy room, Luo Xu sat on the sofa, her fingers rapidly tapping on the keyboard. She muttered to herself, octopus. Lin Hao walked by, observing her serious demeanor. The laptop screen displayed an image of an octopus in motion. 3 hearts, 9 brains, and 2 memory systems, he read, astonished. This octopus is incredibly powerful. Luo Xu smiled upon hearing this. She then gently stroked his face, her eyes sparkling. Not only that, its structure is far more perfect than a human's. She began to analyze the functions of the tentacles, and how they work. Each of its tentacles has a secondary brain. When in danger, it can detach a tentacle to distract an enemy and escape. Through her explanation, Lin Hao came to understand even more about how octopuses perceive the world. The photoreceptor cells of octopuses are located on the outermost layer of their skin, distributing visual proteins, she said. This means they can see the world through their skin. For a mollusk, this is truly a pinnacle of evolution in the marine animal kingdom. Lin Hao was extremely excited, like a child. His eyes widened as he turned to her and exclaimed, then they're invincible. Why haven't octopuses dominated the earth after all these years? Hearing his question, Luo Xu smiled. She began to explain the reason, like a teacher instructing a student. Because octopuses have a genetic lock. Simply put, their lifespan is too short, and they live solitary lives. Although their learning ability is very strong, their solitary nature prevents them from passing on their accumulated experience to the next generation. Oh, I see. His question answered. Lin Hao happily poked Luo Xu's cheek and said, octopuses are so scary. Let's have grilled octopus tonight. Okay, she smiled and nodded, looking at him affectionately. Lin Hao quickly dodged the monster's attack. He recognized the fire-breathing technique as his own, one he had used when he first encountered this creature. It was unexpected to see his own move used against him. Lin Hao quickly regained his composure and entered a combat stance. It didn't have this move before, he thought. You're right, this system confirmed. The octopus's learning ability is indeed very strong. You only used that move once, and it learned it. Lin Hao's eyes stared intently at the creature, observing it for a moment. His mind raced. That's not right, he exclaimed. The one attacking me is that mutated red crab, but I was too surprised earlier to notice the fires coming from the crab's mouth. He immediately activated his detection system. Before his eyes, a radar skin swept over the monster, revealing the truth. The main culprit, the mastermind, was the octopus. It was perched on the upper body of the giant red crab, and it seemed all the actions and movements were controlled by it. This was truly a trap. Lin Hao stared, dumbfounded. The octopus was the source of all the crab's behaviors. He swallowed hard. Oh boy, this is going to be tough. If I use another skill and it copies encounters, that would be really bad. To summarize the situation, a mutated octopus had parasitized this mutated red crab, and the octopus could control it. One octopus, one crab, a 2 for 1 headache. Now, he could only rely on himself to break this deadlock. Lin Hao raised his sharp claws, golden energy radiating from them. He gathered all his strength into this one attack and charged straight toward the enemy. The crab quickly raised its own claws to block. The two forces collided, creating a shockwave. The pressure radiated outwards in large circles, and dark red energy sparked as the red crab roared. In the darkness, a claw came down. Lin Hao's sharp claws, concentrating his force, pierced deep into the crab's hard, concrete-like shell, slowly sinking in. A second later, the crab's claw counter-attacked, trying to fling him away and then clamp down on him, but he blocked it. After observing the fight for a few rounds, Lin Hao looked at it with a judgmental gaze. You overestimated you. It seems you only learned the superficial aspects. Seemingly understanding his words, the monster became enraged and charged towards him, determined to fight to the death. Meanwhile, Lin Hao remained calm, waiting for it. As the giant claw approached, getting closer and closer, he thought, if my guess is correct, the regeneration is the octopus's ability. Can it be applied to the mutated red crab it's parasitizing? Facing the sharp giant claw, Lin Hao was unafraid. He observed its every move. With its size and strength, if he were actually caught, he would be crushed to a pulp. Lin Hao quickly utilized the energy within him, channeling it throughout his body. A surge of energy erupted, his eyes glowing red. He exclaimed, "How are you going to learn this move?" With just a touch of his claw on the crab's claw, it trembled violently. A feeling of fear overwhelmed it. With a lift of his hand, he threw the crab far away, causing it to crash to the ground, creating a cloud of dust and shaking the sea. In the next second, his sharp claws drew a perfect arc, instantly severing the octopus's tentacles. The smell of blood permeated the surroundings, creating a gruesome and terrifying scene. At this moment, Lin Hao seemed to have entered a possessed state, his entire body glowing red, his eyes burning red like a demon from hell. "Try regenerating that, why don't you?" he roared. After being cut into many pieces, the red crab roared fiercely, enraged, displaying its dominance. Under its pressure, Lin Hao just looked on indifferently. In the next second, it opened its mouth again and spat out various strange purple bubbles, firing them towards him in bursts. Lin Hao didn't dodge but watched them approach. He smiled, his entire body radiating flames. "That's useless," he sneered. He dashed forward like an arrow, quickly grabbing a claw and snapping it off, causing the crab to roar in agony. It quickly leaped back, assuming an offensive stance, and spat fire at him. The flames grew more and more intense, engulfing him. But this was useless against him, as if it were his specialty. He swam through the flames as if swimming normally in water, advancing as he laughed. "Using my own move against me? Who taught you that? It's ridiculous. You thought copying my attack would make you invincible. What a joke." Under his relentless attacks, the creature, seeing that they were ineffective, began to change. It seemed to realize that this wasn't working. Perhaps it should change its strategy. But before it could, Lin Hao quickly grabbed its tentacle and then flung the octopus away from the giant crab's body. The crab, losing its parasitic host, began to undergo changes. It roared, its eyes turning dull. The octopus, suddenly thrown off, was also stunned and couldn't react in time. After dealing with the parasite, Lin Hao looked back at the red crab. One down, one more to go. He observed the crab slowly sinking and was extremely surprised to see that its shell was actually empty. And never imagined that among mutated creatures there would be a parasitic relationship like this. Oh my god. In the forest, there are parasitic fungi, and now, even in the sea, mutated creatures have parasites. They're evolving. Look at that crab shell. It's just like a zombie. And that octopus is like a zombie that eats the brains of others and controls them like puppets. He looked in the distance and saw the parasitic octopus trying to escape. It's fast with 8 legs, he noted. Now you know to run. It seemed to understand, quickly using its 8 legs to flee at full speed. Lin Hao chased closely behind. The faster it went, the faster he followed. Soon he caught up and his claws slashed down, severing its tentacles into many pieces with force and fury. While he was engrossed in the attack, the system suddenly appeared beside him. She swam over and urgently said, "Stop chasing. Berserk mode has a time limit." Lin Hao gradually slowed down. He looked at her and said, "This is the second time. Next time we meet, who knows what kind of terrifying monster it will become. Because the octopus, the way it parasitizes. It's really overpowered." He looked in the direction it had fled, his eyes distant. The system urged him, "First, go back and eat what you need to eat. Don't chase after a desperate enemy, understand?" Hearing this, Lin Hao could only sigh. The system was annoyed. "What's the big deal? Why are you acting like you're breaking up with your girlfriend? So annoying." A system notification popped up. Super difficult quest. Swallow a tier 5 mutated red king crab. Reward, random skill. Completed. Lin Hao, filled with anticipation, grinned. "I'm dreaming of wielding a machine gun. Only that can fulfill my aspirations. A Gatling gun that shoots green flames," he said dreamily. The system, hearing this, was speechless. She crossed her arms and said, "You should go pray." Then he immediately pressed the button on the system. Content displayed. Heaven sent luck. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the skill. Quality. Red. What? What's the meaning of this? He wondered. Suddenly, a light flew straight into his mouth. He was stunned and couldn't react in time before it disappeared. The system quickly said, "Look at this." Following the direction of her finger, the system displayed, "Heaven sent luck. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the skill. Quality, red. Passive, listen to an opponent's language, start imitating, and gradually become proficient in speaking. Applicable to all forms of language." He placed his hand under his chin, thinking, this means imitation. This. Copy. Lin Hao, as if he had thought of something, turned to the system. "Mimicry is the skill of the mutated octopus, and my reward also has a mimicry aspect. Will I be able to learn the skills of other mutated creatures in the future? If so, that would be amazing." Thinking of something, Lin Hao's eyes lit up, and he quickly exclaimed, "That's right, this way, I can learn the language of the aliens." The more he spoke, the more he felt he had discovered something incredible. He punched his fist into his palm, looking at the guide excitedly. Before his excitement could even last a few seconds, he started swimming away. She asked curiously, "Where are you going?" He hurriedly replied, "Help me think of a way. I want to enter the Dragon Team's laboratory. Now that I have this skill, it will definitely be useful." The guide's initial excitement quickly turned to frustration. "He's causing trouble again," she thought. "Are you looking for death?" she shouted, frowning. The night sky was adorned with a crescent moon, partially obscured by wispy clouds. Below, tall buildings with a few lit windows created a tranquil scene. In a modern laboratory, an elderly scientist with silver hair, wearing a white lab coat, stood holding documents. He turned to look at the woman still diligently taking notes in the distance and said, "Luoxiu, still not off work." Luoxiu remained focused on her microscope, her hand continuously recording the observed results. Without looking up, she replied with utmost concentration, "I'm researching the previous topic." Her mentor approached and, seeing what she was writing, said, "You're still trying to enhance the activity of the gate virus through cultivation. I told you it's impossible." Luoxiu felt that her mentor's words weren't entirely accurate. She turned to him and responded, "The activity of the virus is the key to enhancing abilities. Currently, people who want to increase its activity can only risk injecting a high concentration of the gate virus." Looking at the specimen under the microscope, she felt confident that the path she was on was the right one. "If we can enhance the virus's activity through cultivation, it will save many lives," she said, her expression determined. She turned back, picked up her pen, and continued to write. "I will definitely find a way." Her mentor, seeing that his advice was ineffective against her stubborn nature, sighed and turned to Lee. "All right, but don't work too late. Take care of your health." "Don't worry, sir," she replied. In a secluded corner of the building, Lin Hao scratched his face awkwardly, a dark expression on his face. "Is this your idea of a good idea?" he grumbled, pouting as he looked down at his outfit. "Look at me. Does this look okay? Pretending to be a cleaner is one thing, but this outfit is too tight. It's really perverted." The guide, however, swooned, covering her face. "It's not small. This style looks good. Full marks, try touching it again, Lin Hao said, annoyed. Whatever. At least I have something to wear. He tried moving his arms and legs. The size isn't quite right. It's hard to move. He carried a broom to complete his disguise. As he walked, he used the system to sense where the dragon team was holding the it they had captured. The guide scratched her head. Sigh. The signal here is weak. I can't detect it. The connection is unstable. It's malfunctioning at a critical moment, Lin Hao grumbled. Is the network cable being chewed on by a fish? As they were moving, a voice suddenly called out from afar. Stop. Lin Hao glanced behind him, his brow furrowing. Damn it. We've been discovered. We haven't even walked 10 meters. Luoxiu held a gun, her eyes assessing the figure's back. There's no one this tall and strong working as a cleaner here, she thought. And sneaking around at night. Something's definitely off. The guide, however, was smiling brightly. Oh, it's your girlfriend. What's there to be happy about? This is so embarrassing, Lin Hao muttered, telling her to be quiet. Luoxiu saw the figure stop but continue muttering. She shouted, don't move, I've already sent out an alarm. Then she ordered him, raise your hands and slowly turn around. Seeing that his girlfriend didn't recognize him, Lin Hao slowly followed her instructions. As the tall figure turned, revealing a handsome face, Luoxiu stood frozen, her gun in hand. In that moment, time seemed to stop. This familiar face, the man she had loved and searched for so long, was right in front of her. Her body trembled, and her grip on the gun loosened until it fell to the ground. Tears began to fall from the corners of her eyes. Lin Hao, she whispered. The romantic mood was suddenly broken by the sound of approaching footsteps. Team leader Luo, are you alright? Damn it, it's the security team I called, she thought. In a flash of panic and resolve, she regained her composure, grabbed Lin Hao's hand, and pulled him along. Follow me, asked them. The others arrived. When they reached the corridor, they saw no one. That's strange, one of them said. I clearly heard a sound just now. Another pushed open a nearby door. Maybe they're hiding in here. They all cautiously followed. Hiding in a corner of the room, their hearts pounding, Luoxiu hugged Lin Hao tightly. The guide also hid, peeking out nervously. Hurry up and leave, she whispered. The footsteps got closer and closer. The guide was so scared that she hugged Lin Hao, shouting, they're coming, they're coming. Lin Hao pushed her away. What are you afraid of? They can't see you, you're the system. The ones who should be scared are my girlfriend and me. Get away from me. As he was about to lose his temper, the guide's hair accidentally brushed against his nose. In this critical moment, his nose began to itch. Oh no, I can't hold it in, he thought, panic rising. The footsteps were now just a meter away. Luoxiu noticed his strained expression. In a flash of inspiration, she reached up, placed a hand on his face, and kissed him, catching him completely off guard and stifling the impending sneeze. He forgot all about the critical situation. The others, after searching the room and finding no one, decided to leave. Looks like there's really no one here. Let's go check over there. In the corner, the two finally felt safe enough to separate. That was close, he breathed. We almost got caught. Luoxiu looked at him, finally able to speak. What's going on with you? Why are you here? Was that you before? What are you hiding from me? Lin Hao looked flustered. It's a long story. I came here to see the it you captured. He was about to explain his situation when a sharp pain shot through his body, making him freeze. He felt like he couldn't breathe. The guide chuckled beside him. Your human form only lasts for 5 minutes. Hurry up. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Lin Hao clutched his chest, the pain excruciating. Luoxiu, not understanding, rushed forward. Who are you talking to? With his time limited, he could only say, it doesn't matter. Luoxiu. Just remember this. He leaned in and kissed her. No matter what form I take, I will never harm you, and I will never do anything against my principles. The sudden kiss caught her off guard. She listened to his words, happy just to be able to see him again. Suddenly, Lin Hao reached behind her and struck her neck, causing her to lose consciousness and fall into his arms. The guide, not understanding, asked, why didn't you tell her the truth? As he gently supported Luoxiu against the wall, he replied, my current situation is very special. If the dragon team finds out, they'll dissect me for research. Luoxiu wouldn't be able to protect me either. He looked at her intently, gently stroking her hair, his eyes full of love. When I become stronger, strong enough to protect myself, and then I will return to her side. With that, he and the system quickly left the room, leaving Luoxiu behind. While Luoxiu was unconscious, she suddenly felt a strange change. Frowning in discomfort, she weakly called his name, Lin Hao. It felt as if her body was undergoing a transformation. A surge of energy coursed through her, finally settling and making her feel normal again. When she woke up, Lin Hao was gone. "Something's different about my body," she murmured, raising her hand. It felt lighter and stronger than before. "I've become stronger." But how? Her eyes suddenly widened as she realized something. What could have enhanced the activity of the good virus in my body? Then she remembered the passionate moment between them. Could it be because of that? She wondered. The next day, after receiving a power boost from her passionate kiss with Lin Hao, Luoxu stood with the scientist, Xian, and the agent, Li, before the entrance of the ancient ruins. Before entering, Xian cautioned her, although the civilization's relics here possess technology far beyond our current level and are an extremely valuable source of research, you are the most valuable thing. You must be careful. Li also expressed concern, warning Luoxu. Obtaining the number 2 equipment requires risking one's life. It's not something an ordinary person can do. Luoxu was resolute. She looked into the ruins and said, "Don't worry. I will definitely obtain the number 2 suit." She placed a hand on her chest, determined. After that kiss, she understood her own capabilities better than anyone. Because I have his power now, she thought, clenching her small fist as she walked inside without looking back. Jian and Li remained outside, watching her retreating figure. "If only we could completely control this relic site," the scientist said with a sigh. "Each relic has supreme control authority called a key, but we are completely unable to grasp it. Our hope rests on you being able to bring back more useful things." Just a few steps inside, Luoxu looked around, feeling a bit lost. Suddenly, a column of smoke exploded before her eyes. A large system panel appeared, displaying items for combat. "Welcome. Please choose your preferred weapon," a synthesized voice announced. Luoxu scanned the options and noticed a pistol. Although the pistol looks powerful, it doesn't have many advantages when facing mutated creatures, she thought. Finally, she approached a large axe. She reached out and took it. This giant axe can be used for both attack and defense. It's the perfect choice. Weapon selection complete. The challenge will begin shortly, the system announced. Energy swirled around the large axe in her hands. The system panel then displayed 2 large words, "Begin." Instantly, a magic circle with a bright red glow appeared before her, emanating a palpable pressure. The circle projected 2 bright red laser beams, which shot toward her. Then, more laser beams appeared, intersecting like a net and blocking her path. Luoxu was a little worried, but remained determined. With skills honed through many training sessions, she used her flexible body to bend and leap through a diamond-shaped opening in the laser grid. The successful jump brought her and her weapon through without touching the beams. These traps are too simple, she thought, no longer the same person she was before. Jumping over the barrier was one thing, but landing was another. The brick floor beneath her was gone. She landed on a pile of what looked like coal, which suddenly shifted and sparked. Startled, she realized the situation wasn't so simple. The ground beneath her feet became a gaping hole, and the dark rocks shattered, falling into a bottomless black pit. Luoxu fell with them. It won't end so easily, she thought. Using the axe as a fulcrum, she hooked it onto the edge of the platform to stop her fall, then took a leap to safety. Landing softly, she placed a hand on the floor. "Something doesn't seem right," she muttered. After the dust cloud settled, the large form of an ancient dinosaur was revealed. It had large scales on its back, extending from its head to its tail. Luoxu was smaller than its tail, facing the giant monster alone. After carefully observing it, she determined its weak point, its belly. Thinking this, Luoxu jumped high, gathering her strength to swing the large axe, aiming straight for its abdomen. At the last second, she changed the direction of her attack, intending to feint and strike its thigh for a surprise hit. Unexpectedly, as she swung, a beam of energy shot out from the axe. The monster, however, blocked the attack with its head. Apart from a deafening roar, it seemed unaffected. "Damn it, this one has been enhanced," Luoxu exclaimed. The headbutt slammed into the axe, the impact throwing her backward into the wall. The sword dragon tilted its head in the darkness, preparing to charge. Luoxu fell to the ground, right at the monster's feet. Using the large axe as support, she gritted her teeth in frustration, determined to find its weakness. Seeing its large tail swinging high, she knew it was preparing for a powerful blow. Fighting passively like this won't work, she thought. After a few seconds of decision, Luoxu firmly grabbed the tail as it swung down. She held on tight, closing her eyes for dear life as it thrashed her back and forth, trying to make her let go. The monster's eyes widened in what seemed like fear as it saw her clinging to its tail with one hand while swinging the axe with the other. Then, she let go with one hand, using both to gather strength and swing the axe, using the momentum to lift her body into the air. With a spin, she successfully jumped up near the base of the sword dragon's tail. It turned its head, realizing something was wrong, and roared. Quickly, Luoxu ran from the tail, over the large scales on its back, and straight up to the sword dragon's head. With its massive body, the monster couldn't shake her off. Luoxu jumped high and, along with a powerful swing of the axe, aimed for a fatal blow to its skull. Gritting her teeth, she muttered, "Just like that day. I need to find the flow of heat in my body." Focusing, she gathered all her strength, tapping into the new power Lin Hao's kiss had given her. Her deep inner strength combined with the energy from the axe successfully created a massive, earth-shattering blow on the sword dragon's head. "Ah!" she shouted, her eyes narrowed. This is the feeling of finishing off a monster. She was completely exhilarated. The giant sword dragon could do nothing more. It closed its eyes and endured the final, devastating attack. The blow created a long, bright gash on its skull, causing it to stagger and collapse. Dust and rocks flew everywhere. The system panel appeared. "Congratulations, you have successfully completed the challenge." Standing on the corpse of the collapsed sword dragon, Luoxu walked forward, the dignified victor, as the wind blew through her long hair. Luoxu smiled, satisfied with her efforts. Immediately, another system panel appeared, announcing, "Please receive the equipment set." Along with it was a shining chest, the reward. After completing the dungeon, she looked at the results of her efforts with joyful eyes. "Finally, I got it," she thought. The scene shifted back to the pond, where the guide and Lin Hao had returned. Both were swimming in the lake. Lin Hao looked somewhat sad as he stretched his body, gently swishing his tail. "I originally wanted to learn their language," he said, "but I ended up accomplishing nothing." The guide, puzzled by his attitude, reminded him, "Why didn't you accomplish anything?" Clearly, his attitude suddenly became unusually irritable. "Shut up, don't talk." The guide was taken aback, her eyes glistening sadly. Then, unintentionally, his head bumped into one of her round breasts. She flinched and slapped him, sending him spinning. "Ah, you pervert." Dizzy from the slap, Lin Hao stuck out his tongue, trying to explain. "You're just a system, aren't you?" The guide angrily turned away. Lin Hao displayed an innocent expression, scratching his long snout in confusion. "She's becoming more and more like a person," he muttered. He didn't notice the black tentacles retracting and extending behind him, grabbing a small fish. Hearing a strange noise, his eyes immediately darted sideways. Looking behind him, he saw a cluster of clams with large, black tentacles. The creature was much larger than him, and its movements were calm. "This is a giant mutated sea clam," he exclaimed. Before his eyes, a long leg of the clam appeared, aiming directly at his face. Strange green mucus was secreted from its body. He had seen plenty of seafood, but this was his first time seeing a mutated clam. 3 legs came at once, causing his eyes to widen in shock. He froze for a moment, his mouth involuntarily blurting out, "What the fuck?" The surprise passed, and he quickly regained his composure, switching to combat mode. His body radiated a fiery aura, flames blazing up in an instant. His eyes became sharper, and his fangs were bared, ready to tear anything apart. Super fire scales. When the clam's leg was only a few centimeters from his face, it suddenly stopped, as if paralyzed. Seeing the leg right in front of him but making no other move, Lin Hao was astonished. Did it stretch its leg out this far just to show off? He wondered. As he was observing, a fragrance assaulted his nose. He sniffed. This smell. It can't be mistaken. Why is there even a hint of fragrance? He was swimming and suddenly smelled seafood, fresh and alive, right in front of him. Then what am I waiting for? He quickly unleashed a fiery punch, charging straight at the clam. Seafood buffet, here I come, he thought. What should I do? Take a bite and see if it's cooked. Dang. System notification, consumed tier 2 mutated seafood. Gained evolution points. He took another bite, munching and chewing. A little minced garlic would make it perfect, but this is acceptable. He took another bite, his cheeks bulging. Looking at the system panel, his eyes widened. This mutated clam is tier 2. As he was looking, he suddenly sensed something attacking from behind. He quickly turned his head. Swish. System notifications kept flooding his vision. Consumed tier 2 mutated seafood. Gained evolution points. Consumed tier 2 mutated seafood. Gained evolution points. Meanwhile, The Clam's legs relentlessly stretched out, attacking him. He used both hands to block while his mouth continued its culinary adventure. Eating one gets 20,000 evolution points. And it's so delicious. Bring more, fresh, high-quality meat, and high points. Odd eating is a waste of heaven's gifts. Are there more coming from behind? Bring a few more. The more, the better. Invite all your relatives and friends. After a while, he was happily enjoying himself when he suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Goosebumps erupted all over his body. He glanced sideways. Holy. But his eyes widened in shock. Before him was a giant clam leg, many times larger than the others. More importantly, at its base was a huge mouth with sharp teeth, roaring as if it wanted to pounce and tear him to pieces. Holy crap, such a terrifying enemy, he thought, his mind racing. Let's check its stats first. Mutated Tier 5 creature, mutated giant clam. Total combat power, 1675. One look at the text and his eyes almost popped out. He was speechless. Damn it. Such high combat power. Look at its legs surrounding me. They're several times bigger than me, and its combat power is so tough. While he was still staring, frozen, a clam leg quickly stretched out, wrapping around him. It relentlessly tightened its grip around his tail, advancing inch by inch. He remained motionless, letting it wrap around his entire body, calmly observing its every move. Its leg wrapped from his tail to his abdomen, then up to his shoulders. He calmly placed his hand on each layer of the wrap, his eyes greedily looking at the thick, fatty meat in front of him. His eyes glazed over, and he drooled, excitedly saying, "Give me a piece." Then he activated his spiritual flame power. His entire body instantly transformed into a living, red-hot rock, igniting a blaze. Iron plate barbecue, he thought. He expected to turn the live clam into a delicious cooked meal, but something seemed wrong. He looked again, blinked, and looked at his soot-black face. Damn it, this thing can withstand this. Chew. Oh my god, why isn't it working? Its monstrous leg was wrapped too tightly, making it hard to breathe. Lacking oxygen, with tears streaming down his face, he immediately focused his power into his claws. Corrosive claws, his sharp claws drew a line. Switch. The clam leg snapped off like tofu. This clam lord is going to be tough, he thought. Its combat power is too strong. Even if I activate Super Berserk, it won't be easy to deal with. Although he could cut it into pieces, its tough combat power made him wary. He assessed his surroundings, and the clam lord. This situation is too unfavorable. If this continues, I'll be captured. His eyes narrowed. After finding an opening, he quickly churned the water, creating waves, and swam away. Compared to evolution points, life is still more important. He left the clam lord roaring behind him. He had to escape before its legs caught up again. He was sprinting like an arrow when suddenly, something crashed into him. It was the guide, blocking his path. I'm running like crazy. Why are you here? It's a miracle I didn't send you flying. The guide, bumped into by him, was embarrassed but relieved that he had escaped. She turned to look at the clam lord. It's okay. You've escaped, she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. He glanced at her. He still dared to say that. If it weren't for you. But he stopped. Seriously, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been chased so badly that my pants almost fell off. But whatever. Looking in the direction of the clam lord, his eyes became more determined than ever. His brow furrowed, his face calm as he declared, this grudge must be avenged, or I am no gentleman. Let's go. We're going to grind for experience. Seeing her host become fierce again, seemingly wanting to go back and settle things with the clam lord, the guide pulled him back, her voice full of doubt. You're going to find that mutated giant clam again. Lin Hao didn't even look back, his eyes fixed straight ahead. No, he said, I have a better plan. The two were in the passage at the bottom of the sea, deep within the ruins. They passed through the corridor, glancing at the experimental tanks. After analyzing the situation, Lin Hao began to speak. The strongest mutated creature here is Tier 5 with a combat power of just over 1000. After defeating these things, I'll be able to go find that mutated giant clam and get my revenge. He walked past the tanks, starting to look for a specific target. The system completely agreed. That makes sense. As soon as she finished speaking, she immediately flew towards a door, her face cheerful as she raised a hand, cheering him on like a cheerleader. You can start now, Lin Hao, she said, smiling brightly. Seeing his system acting this way felt like he was being played. He shuddered, breaking out in a cold sweat, and urgently exclaimed, Hey, are you even being serious? After choosing between different tanks, he finally stopped in front of one and threw a punch at it. Cracks quickly appeared on the amber glass, spreading like a spiderweb. As the cracks widened, his eyes focused more intently. His mind continuously analyzed the information. In Super Rage Night Battle mode, my combat power can reach 1150. One claw strike should be enough. Suddenly, the tanks nearby simultaneously shattered. The sound of breaking glass echoed like a string of firecrackers. Water poured out like a flood. From the darkness, mysterious tentacles suddenly shot out, attacking Lin Hao and startling him. Although he had anticipated something, the events unfolded with a suddenness that was beyond his expectations. As the creature approached, its shape made him freeze. Before him was a giant fish with sharp teeth, ready to pounce and devour him. Lin Hao remained calm, observing its actions. He swung a fist from behind, punching it straight in the face. "You're looking for death," he snarled. From behind, he sensed something else approaching. He glanced sideways just as a giant eel appeared. It relentlessly tried to wrap around him. Realizing its intention, Lin Hao quickly unleashed his fire breath. His entire body radiated countless red, pink flames, enveloping his figure. Seeing that the eel was still stubbornly tightening its grip, he activated the power around his body. In the next second, the water around him instantly ignited, burning like a mountain of molten lava. In the middle of the inferno, Lin Hao was no different from a demon in a sea of fire. Everything around him was incinerated, leaving only charred corpses. The smell of grilled eel filled the water, sizzling in the air. Seeing that the situation was stable, Lin Hao quickly stepped forward and started to devour the remains ravenously. The system notifications rang out again and again. Consume Tier 3 mutated bonefish. Gained evolution points. Consume Tier 3 mutated bonefish. Gained evolution points. Consume Tier 3 mutated bonefish. Gained evolution points. Chewing greedily, his cheeks puffed out. He smiled brightly. His eyes narrowed. Too easy, he thought, as easy as eating candy. From a dark corner, a creature with red skin began to move. Lin Hao, after eating his fill, patted his belly contentedly. Having eaten so much, I should find something tough to practice with, he mused. Sensing movement behind him, he instinctively became alert and turned around. Hey, what is this thing? A giant eye, like that of an amphibian with a flat pupil, stared intently at him. Looking closer, he saw it belonged to a huge creature with dark red skin, sharp teeth, and limbs thicker than pillars. Their eyes met. Both remained motionless for 5 seconds. Check stats. Mutated Tier 5 creature, Scarlet Giant Crocodile. Total combat power, 1262. Lin Hao's eyes quickly returned to combat mode. He cracked his knuckles, a wicked smile spreading across his face. Perfect timing. I was just about to practice, and a perfect punching bag delivers itself to my door. The giant red crocodile tilted its head back, bared its fangs, and roared. Its massive body lunged straight towards Lin Hao, its spiky tail sweeping towards him with wind-splitting speed. Swish, Lin Hao could clearly see the monstrous tail approaching with his naked eye. His brow furrowed. Looking for death, he exclaimed. In the urgent moment, he used his own tail to block its attack. The two forces collided, creating a pressure wave that seemed to crack the surrounding water. Boom! A loud explosion followed. Immediately after, Lin Hao struck the massive body of the crocodile with his tail. The surprise attack caught the crocodile off guard, sending it flying into the experimental tanks and causing the machinery to explode. Flames flared up and then died down, leaving behind clouds of smoke. Lin Hao calmly stood at a distance, observing carefully. Suddenly, from the smoke, a set of sharp teeth emerged, charging straight towards him. As the smoke cleared, the crocodile's body was now covered in streaks of purple, with demonic fire. It hissed and bared its fangs, and Lin Hao was surprised to see it could use fire, a technique similar to his own. Seeing the enemy attack, Lin Hao also activated the fire within his body, making the surrounding atmosphere feel as if it were burning. Come on, he yelled, let's see who has the stronger fire. Flames from opposite poles collided, creating a rare conflict. A loud explosion echoed as the fires intertwined, each wanting to devour the other. The two opponents stared at each other. The crocodile, with its bright headlight-like eyes, glared intently at Lin Hao as if threatening him. Lin Hao wasn't afraid, looking straight back. You think this is over? He said calmly. Energy accumulated within him, and his flames gradually blazed more fiercely than ever. He moved so fast that he left after images, black electrical sparks running along his body. The main event is next, he shouted. The two charged at each other. On a massive body of bright purple, the other our protagonist carrying a bright red glow. They collided. Initially it was unclear who was stronger, but gradually the crocodile seemed to be losing ground. Seeing this, Lin Hao pressed his advantage, throwing all his strength into an attack on the crocodile's head. Boom! A moment of carelessness allowed Lin Hao to strike its head, catching it off guard and stunning it. Seeing the crocodile was dazed, Lin Hao quickly swished his tail, swung his hand, and executed his next skill, corrosive claws. He smiled, looking at its stunned expression. While you're stunned, I'll end your life. Streaks of green light illuminated his sharp claws as he struck the crocodile's head. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed. Something's wrong. Lin Hao stood there, looking. Why isn't it reacting? It even seemed to be looking at him with disdain, as if laughing. Lin Hao began to feel uneasy. Damn, your skin is thick. Facing such a tough opponent, he immediately gathered his strength again, concentrating it in his sharp claws. It's okay. If once isn't enough, then I'll try countless times. There must be a limit. If normal techniques can't deal with it, then I'll use a new one. He slowly stood still and began to spin, his speed increasing until his figure blurred into a small, powerful vortex. The vortex continued to accelerate, and then shot straight toward the crocodile. Take my whirlwind corrosive claws, he shouted, advancing with wind-splitting speed. But he was suddenly stopped. It was the crocodile's claw, blocking his attack as easily as catching a ball. Such high defense and speed, Lin Hao exclaimed to himself. Facing a creature with such a giant body, its movement speed should have been limited, but this crocodile seemed to have no such problem. Its vision, reflexes, and defense were far superior to its appearance. Seeing his attack neutralized, Lin Hao immediately retreated, swimming behind it. He noticed a weak point near its arm and quickly swam over her, pressing close and biting down hard. If claws don't work, I'll use my mouth, he thought. But his bite was nothing to it. The crocodile swung its arm, sending him flying several meters away. He was shocked and panicked, not expecting the creature to be so tough. Before he could recover, he saw its sharp teeth coming straight at him. He quickly raised his hands to block its upper jaw and activated his skill. Black iron scales, a golden glow radiated from him. The crocodile, not understanding what was happening, felt a sharp pain in its mouth, forcing it to open wide and release him. Lin Hao looked at it with disdain. You thought you were a tiger, but you're just a cat, he sneered. He quickly activated his trump card. Flames gradually rose around his body, and his muscles bulged. His eyes radiated a deadly fire, and black and red electrical sparks flickered around him. Super Berserk, activate. The pain in the crocodile's mouth gradually subsided. When it looked back at its enemy, it noticed the flames had disappeared. Its flat pupils quickly scanned the area. Lin Hao attacked from below, swimming with lightning speed. The crocodile noticed his direction, its golden, headlight-like eyes staring at him threateningly. The surprise attack from below was set. Lin Hao opened his mouth wide and bit down, the force of his bite increasing as his teeth sank deeper into its flesh. The surprise attack caused the crocodile extreme pain, and it roared wildly. Its body erupted with a green flame, hoping to force its enemy to release. But Lin Hao was not afraid. I have my own fire, he exclaimed. Why should I be afraid of you? I'm Lin Hao, the master of fire. He pressed close, wanting to use the fire to burn its massive body. As he expected, the flames spread across its skin. Realizing it was about to attack him, he quickly let go and retreated. He took a stance and charged toward the wound he had just made, his hands relentlessly pummeling it like a punching bag. The speed of his punches was so fast they left afterimages as the flames continued to burn. After a flurry of punches, a wound appeared on the crocodile's chest. The painful wound had caught it off guard, leaving a gruesome red-black mark. Seeing that the wound was large enough, Lin Hao delivered a final punch with all his strength. The crocodile's huge body trembled, but it still stood firm. He looked at it with calm eyes, sensing its body gradually losing its ability to resist. Don't resist anymore, he said. You're going to die by my hand. He then tore the enemy apart with his bare hands, ripping it in two like a cloth doll. The stench of blood and rust filled the water, turning the surrounding area red. After the battle, his eyes were as red as blood. He stood there, looking at the torn body of the crocodile, the feeling of savage, frenzied killing lingering. He grabbed a piece of meat, slowly brought it to his mouth, and chewed on the delicious flesh. The taste isn't bad, he said with satisfaction. The crispy chicken flavor is a bit tough on the teeth. It would be better if I could evolve sharper teeth next time. While eating, he suddenly heard a noise from behind. He glanced over. What's that sound from the pile of broken tanks? He wondered. Who is it? The red giant crocodile, at that moment, tilted its head toward the sky and let out a mighty roar. Then it swung its tail, covered in sturdy scales, toward its enemy. "You're looking for death." Lin Hao's eyes widened in anger. He whipped his tail to block the attack, conveniently launching another blow at its body. In the very next second, the monster was knocked away, crashing into a pile of advanced machinery behind it, and causing them to explode. A white cloud of smoke quickly enveloped its entire body. Even though it had taken such a heavy blow, the monster seemed unharmed as it pushed its head out of the smoke. Lin Hao was surprised, but as before, he easily knocked it away. Enraged, it roared and unleashed a stream of pink, purple energy. This didn't intimidate him, on the contrary, it fueled his fighting spirit even more. "Come on," he challenged, "let's see who has the stronger fire." As he spoke, he channeled his power, creating large flames around his body. A loud explosion erupted in the laboratory, leaving only fire and smoke. Shortly after, they dissipated, leaving behind the sharp cases of two sworn enemies. "You think this is over?" he said, his voice strained. "My tail is starting to radiate a terrifying fire." Very quickly, his body was engulfed in flames. "The main event is next," he asserted confidently. As soon as the words left his mouth, they both charged straight at each other with all their might, determined to eliminate their opponent. Time seemed to pass, and shortly after, Lin Hao gained the upper hand, pushing the red giant crocodile's head in. It was so dazed that its head spun. Taking advantage of its weakest moment, he thought, "I'll take your life." He used corrosive claws, making his claws emit a green aura. Then he slashed with all his might at the monster's mouth. A clang rang out. Even though he had used all his strength, the skin, after taking a corrosive claw blow, only emitted a puff of white smoke. He was shocked. Holy crap, this thing's skin is that thick. Even though it was ineffective, he had no intention of giving up. "It's okay. If once isn't enough, then 3 times, 4 times, countless times." As he asserted this, he swung his claws at the empty space in front of him, creating a green whirlwind. He charged quickly towards the monster with this terrifying attack, shouting, "Take my whirlwind corrosive claws." The attack was very powerful, but the crocodile simply raised its hand and easily blocked it. Lin Hao didn't give up, maintaining the attack for a long time. Damn it. Not only is its defense high, but its reaction speed is also incredibly fast, he thought. The crocodile wasn't stupid. Seeing its opponent keep using the same move, it swung its other hand to attack, but he quickly noticed and stopped, swimming low to dodge. Seeing that this method wasn't working, he quickly changed tactics, swimming close to its body, and biting with all his might. But as before, it simply swung its hand, and easily knocked him away. He took the blow and was sent flying backward, crashing into a wall. He struggled to swim up from the rubble, but the red giant crocodile, knowing he was in a weakened state, opened its large mouth and lunged. In the next second, he was completely inside its mouth. But he didn't give up, using his hands to try to prevent it from closing its jaws while also using black iron scales, causing his body to sprout sharp, glowing spikes that pierced its mouth. It immediately released him, its mouth now bleeding in excruciating pain. Seeing his opponent like this, a look of triumph appeared on his face. "You thought you were a tiger, but you're just a Hello Kitty," he taunted. "Super Berserk, activate." As soon as the words left his mouth, his eyes turned blood red and veins bulged all over his body. A terrifying surge of power was immediately released. When the pain gradually subsided, the crocodile glanced at its enemy. But at that moment, only the remnants of the fire remained, and no one was there. It turned out he had swum down below to avoid its observation. Seizing the opportunity while it was still looking around for him, Lin Hao quickly bit down hard on its body. The red giant crocodile, bitten in the belly, roared in pain and unleashed a burning green flame that surrounded its body, hoping to scare off its opponent. But because Lin Hao was stubborn, he naturally didn't know fear. "I also have my own fire. Why should I be afraid of you?" he thought. He then directly used his own fire to completely overpower the monster's weak flames. Seeing that it wasn't moving anymore, he retreated, and thought for a moment. A few seconds later he channeled a burning flame into his hand and repeatedly punched the belly of the red giant crocodile. Taking a barrage of fiery punches, its belly was charred black, and a red liquid slowly oozed out. Without hesitation, he charged forward and thrust both his hands into the charred flesh. The monster, in too much pain, could only roar and thrash in despair. He gently comforted it. "Just stop resisting, because you're definitely going to die by my hand." With that, he used the strength of both his arms to tear the massive body of the red giant crocodile in half. Blood and gore splattered everywhere. Having done this, he looked at the corpse and the blood slowly sinking to the bottom with a cold gaze. After he had completely calmed down, he grabbed a piece of the red giant crocodile's flesh and put it straight into his mouth to taste it. When he swallowed, he found it quite delicious. Whoa, this crispy chicken flavor is amazing. Although it's a bit tough on the teeth. It would be great if I could evolve some sharper teeth next time. While eating, he suddenly heard a very faint sound. He was alert, and glanced behind him. What's that sound? He arrogantly shouted, who's there? If you're so brave, show yourself. I'll make a meal out of you. Turning around, Lin Hao heard loud boom, boom, sounds coming from behind door Lone. He was surprised. Lone. What's going on? He curiously swam towards door Lone to investigate. Such loud noises. Could there be even stronger mutated creatures inside? He tried to peek through the crack in the door, but he couldn't see through. Left with no other choice, Lin Hao had to use his strong arms to slowly open the door. A loud creak echoed. The things inside were gradually revealed. Even so, he didn't dare to open it wide, only a crack, and peered inside with his red eyes. Before he could even get a good look, a water-based attack flew out from inside. At that moment, he sensed a truly dangerous aura. Danger. Without a second's hesitation, he quickly slammed the door shut. Fortunately, he closed it just in time, because in the very next second, a tremendously loud sound echoed from behind the door, making him shudder. Whoa, that's strong. Good thing I didn't let that thing out. He speculated. This creature must be at least tier 5 with a combat power of at least 2,000. I'll get stronger and come back for you later. Let's see how many evolution points I've accumulated. The information panel appeared. Host, Lin Hao species, 1 horned fire dragon level, 39 combat power, 1000 skills, mimicry, super berserk, thunderclap, super rush, super night battle, super camouflage, super scale transformation, powerful bite, powerful tail sweep, ironclad scales, divine power, auspicious guardian level 1 passive. He was excited. This time I actually gained 400,000 evolution points. The system rushed over from behind him, pushing her breasts into his face and joyfully exclaimed, this time it's at least enough to evolve twice. He made an annoyed face. When I was in trouble, you left me alone. Now that I've done the hard part, you come running to celebrate like it's all thanks to you. He ignored her expression and excitedly said, don't worry about the small stuff. Since she was acting like that, he couldn't do anything but tell her to move. I need to prepare to evolve. The little one heard this, nodded in agreement, and let go of him. At this moment, his entire body emitted an extremely terrifying aura. The system displayed evolution points, 70,000. He thought to himself, this time when I wake up, I'll be level 40. There will definitely be a new transformation. The scene shifted to the dragon team's laboratory. There were many researchers observing the mutated beasts being held captive. A bespectacled man raised his hand to his mouth, bewildered. Why are there such mutated creatures in Mount Lai? On the screen, trees showed signs of deformation. Strange flowers grew on the ground with eyes in their centers. Animals were also more irritable, attacking anything that moved. A blonde scientist standing nearby voiced his speculation. Perhaps the appearance of the aliens stimulated something, causing all the flora and fauna in the mountain to mutate. While everyone was discussing, Teacher Jiang entered from outside. The source power there seems quite dense, doesn't it? He said. The bespectacled man was confused. Source power? What's that? Jiang seriously explained. Source power is a special energy from the depths of the universe. While our bodies can accept the Geek virus and evolve, source power is the energy that provides us with special strength. The more source power, the stronger the ability. He added, we've always been researching ways to help soldiers absorb source power from the air more effectively, but currently the results are very limited. At this moment, Luoxu remembered the scene of herself and Lin Hao exchanging the fluids, and her face turned red. She raised her hand to cover her blushing face, intending to say something about cultivation. But before she could speak, a loud alarm sounded. News from headquarters came in. Behind her was a man in armor, similar to Lai. He seriously said, headquarters suspects that the increase in source power around Mount Lai is related to this. He then showed everyone the images recorded during Lin Hao's intrusion. Just a quick glance was enough for Luoxu to know that it was Lin Hao. She worried if he knew he had been discovered. It ate the mutated earthworm and the mutated tyrant dragon and even severely injured 2 members of the eel organization, the armored man said. The experts at headquarters analyzed that this mutated creature is active around Dragon Pond, killing other mutated creatures. And the cycle of source power increase coincides with the time of its appearance. It's very likely related to it. The bespectacled man, after hearing everything, was quite surprised. Why does it sound like it's helping us? The armored man frowned. It's not like it's helping us. It is helping us. It even spared the lives of 2 members of the eel organization. The blonde man loudly questioned, could it be that it has consciousness and thinks like a human? The armored man crossed his arms and calmly replied, I can't be sure about that. It could be a mutated creature controlled by powerful people and the civilian population. The man, hearing this, was extremely excited and smiled slightly. We could capture it and dissect it for research. That will tell us everything. Hearing those cruel words, Luoxu immediately objected. You can't do that. This startled the others. Realizing she was a bit too hasty, she coughed and changed the subject. I have made some breakthroughs in using source power for cultivation, but I still need a place with dense source power to serve as my testing ground. Teacher Jiang, hearing the news, shouted in surprise, you found a cultivation method. Really? She seriously stated her discovery. This mutated creature can increase the density of source power around Mount Lai. Therefore, I propose sealing off Dragon Pond and keeping it there to help me test the source power cultivation method. Hearing this, Teacher Jiang also felt it was reasonable. Alright. The eel organization and the extraterrestrial creatures are cooperating, trying to stimulate the awakening of mutated creatures. Our soldiers must increase their strength to face potentially dangerous situations in the future. She sighed in relief. It seems Lin Hao is temporarily safe. I must take this opportunity to uncover the secrets about him and the source power cultivation method. While she was thinking, a scientist loudly announced, Global ranking. The global ranking has been updated. I wonder which country has uploaded data on mutated creatures this time. He ordered the person at the control screen to open it. Luoxu walked towards the person operating the computer and requested. The ranking is based on the level of danger. First, let's check if there are any changes in the top positions to prepare for preventative measures. The person, hearing her words, pressed a button and said, yes. Very quickly, the image of a mutated octopus appeared on the screen. 1. Dark octopus. Danger level, SS. Description. Mutated creature lurking in the depths of the ocean. Currently in a dormant state. Characteristics. Longer than 300 meters. Movement and attack patterns unknown. First discovered in the Bermuda Triangle in 1999. International coalition forces sent multiple submarines to investigate, but all were attacked and disappeared. Seeing this information, she sighed in relief. Good. 1 is still in a dormant state. At this moment, the monster that had killed Lin Hao before appeared on the screen. 2. Golden Flame Demon Bird. Danger levels. Characteristics. When flapping its wings, its body length reaches 120 meters. Surface temperature up to 2000. Can emit a special golden energy, creating incredibly high temperatures that cannot be measured. Appearance dates. February 5, 2023, appeared in the ancient city of Lintian. When it appeared, the entire city was burned to ashes by flames. June 12, 2023, appeared in the area near the Mediterranean Sea. Its entire body emitted a scorching golden heat, making it impossible to discern its true appearance. She stroked her chin. 2 also hasn't had any news for a long time. It seems like there are no changes in the top positions. But the doctor standing in front of her earlier was so surprised that he took a few steps back. The change is in the 100th position, he said. On the screen was a blurry image of a mutated creature engulfed in a large flame. 100. Unnamed. Danger level B. Characteristics. Entire body covered in golden flames. An amphibious creature belonging to the reptile family. Approximately 16 meters long. Appearance date. June 2023, appeared in the major rivers of Lintian City. After consuming the mutated tyrant dragon, it mysteriously disappeared. After reviewing the information, a scientist vaguely guessed and pointed, exclaiming, isn't this the mutated creature we were just talking about? Not only him, but even Luoxu, when she saw it, broke out in a cold sweat. Lin Hao has already made it onto the global ranking, she thought. The news updates are really fast, a surprised doctor said. That's natural, the bespectacled man replied. This is a special website built through global cooperation. Moreover, only warriors who are aware of the Git virus can have an account. The armored man added, once it's on the global ranking, many people will search for this mutated creature. Even the organization won't be an exception. Luoxu anxiously suggested. This mutated creature is very close to me. It cannot be killed. Please quickly issue an order to seal off the pond. She was worried that if she didn't do so, Lin Hao would be in danger. Teacher Jian, understanding the situation, immediately replied, all right. I will report this immediately. Suddenly, the armored man's phone rang. After a few seconds, his face showed a look of panic, and he exclaimed, what? After hanging up, he told everyone present, A mutated creature has been discovered near Lingshan. The bespectacled man, still unaware of how strong the creature was, casually asked, "You're so serious? Is that creature very strong?" The armored man, also unsure, projected the image he had just received onto the large screen. "I'm not sure how strong it is currently. We only see one of its legs." In the image was a large foot with long, sharp claws. The main problem is that this picture was taken by ordinary people and has now spread everywhere online. "This will cause panic, you know," Luoxu exclaimed. The bespectacled scientist broke out in a cold sweat. "Can we use excuses like movie special effects to suppress this?" The armored man seriously replied, "Recently, there have been rumors that the Dragon King temple there is very effective. Many people have gone there to worship. At the time of the incident, many people witnessed it firsthand, and the news hasn't subsided yet. I'm afraid we can't fool them this time." Things had come to this point, and Teacher Jiang didn't want to hide it anymore. "Why should we fool them? The influence of the Geek virus will spread further. Sooner or later the entire planet will mutate. It can't be hidden anymore." He stood up straight, full of confidence. The armored man, hearing these words, broke out in a sweat. "You mean we're going to reveal the truth?" He nodded slightly. "Let them gradually adapt. I believe that sooner or later, humans will find out the truth for themselves. Find out the truth for themselves." Luoxu had a resigned look on her face. The era where mutated creatures are unknown to the entire population has finally arrived. The scene shifted to the mountain with the mutated creature's hand. Everyone present was continuously using their phones to take pictures in amazement. "Just one leg is so big. I wonder how big the whole body must be. Over 30 meters. So scary. It's probably some kind of publicity stunt." Back with Lin Hao, his body was still enveloped in a surge of power, but it was gradually weakening. Not long after, his evolution was nearing its end. He raised his two claws to his face, and assessed them. "Not bad. I feel my body is much stronger. It's a pity I haven't evolved into a flood dragon yet." As soon as he finished speaking, the system announced, "Congratulations, host, for reaching level 40. You have received a purple chest." A beautiful, shining purple chest appeared before him. He excitedly opened it immediately. "Let's open the chest first, and see what goodies are inside." When the chest opened, streams of beautiful blue light flew out like shooting stars. He clenched his fists and prayed, "Purple guarantee. With it. Hopefully the best is gold." In the next second, the skill he received appeared, corrosive sharp teeth. When attacking, teeth have corrosive toxins capable of breaking through a certain level of defense. "Corrosive sharp teeth," he exclaimed. "Whoa, it's a combo with corrosive claws." As he was speaking, a large stream of blue energy suddenly flew out of his mouth. Then his entire set of teeth flew out. "Oh no, I'm toothless," he panicked. "These corrosive sharp teeth. Could it be that they can corrupt myself, too?" But as soon as he finished speaking, his teeth began to grow rapidly. Soon, they grew long and incredibly white. After the process was complete, he used his finger to poke them. "So sharp. If I had these teeth earlier, dealing with that red-scaled giant crocodile would have been much easier." The information panel appeared, "Host. Lin Hao race, 1 horned fire dragon level, 40 size, 21 meters long, 20 tons total combat power, 1100 skills. Babbling. Super berserk. Thunderclap. Super rush, super night battle, super camouflage, super fire scales, powerful Reno charge, powerful tail sweep, ironclad scales, divine power. Sea God's blessing level 1. Passive." The guide excitedly exclaimed, "Your combat power has increased," but Lin Hao wasn't as happy. It only increased by 100 points. It seems that to have a qualitative change, level 40 is still not enough. At least I need to reach level 50. Whatever. I shouldn't think too much. I need to continue evolving. His entire body shone with golden light once again. After evolving, he looked at his body and felt that it hadn't changed much. He opened the information panel again to check. Level, 41 size, 22 meters long, 21 tons total combat power, 1181. He could only sigh in disappointment. But just then, a loud voice came from above. "Oh my God, don't push, my phone fell." Shortly after, a phone slowly fell in front of him. Because of this, he saw the news. "Lingshan appears monstrous creature." He was shocked. Lingshan has a mutated creature. The guide stroked her chin, thinking, could it be that your previous evolution caused the mountain peak to shake so that the leg was exposed and witnessed by many ordinary people? Could that mutated creature be hiding inside the mountain? He frowned, determined. "I can't let this go. Tonight, I must go and investigate this matter thoroughly." As he said this, He waited until nightfall before slowly emerging from the water. Reaching the shore, he turned his face towards the mountain to look at the lake. There really is something here. I wonder what kind of mutated creature it is. While he was wondering, a stream of light appeared in the sky. A shooting star flew past his head, but he quickly associated it with similar scenes that had appeared in the city before and realized, that's not right. Those are the aliens. Without hesitation, he made his entire body emit a golden glow and flew after the light. After flying for a short distance, he encountered an armored vehicle moving inside the mountain. Could that be the dragon team? He wondered. The vehicle drove for a while longer and then suddenly stopped. Seeing this, Lin Hao didn't dare to move, hiding behind a large rock but still peeking out to observe. Shortly after, the vehicle door slowly opened. The person inside said, according to the latest information, the spaceship will land nearby. The organization has instructed us to prepare to welcome it. The first person to step out of the vehicle was an elderly man, followed by a younger man with brown hair. The younger man replied, of course, because it's a super strong tier 4 warrior. After hearing them talking, he realized that the people in front of him weren't from the dragon team, but from the eel organization. As he observed them, Lin Hao noticed a rather familiar figure. That man looks familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. He narrowed his eyes, focusing his vision, and suddenly realized, it really is someone I know. Lin Hao slightly raised his eyebrows, stroked his chin, and smirked. Isn't that the guy who wanted to kill me before? This time you've finally fallen into my hands. This time, we'll see who kills who. Suddenly, a giant spaceship appeared in the sky, slowly descending. The two men quickly approached as the spaceship gradually landed right before their eyes, a strong wind blowing in gusts. Lin Hao observed the spaceship. The aliens. They finally arrived. The young man, seeing such a sight for the first time, was very worried. The older man quickly stopped him and said, "Step back. Let me deal with him." The young man hesitantly stepped back and replied, "Yes." The spaceship door opened, and a ramp was lowered. A figure stepped out. The older man quickly stepped forward with a very respectful expression and said, "Welcome to Earth. I am the person sent by the eel organization to welcome you." In the hazy smoke, a figure wearing iron armor stepped towards them, looking very cool like a blue superhero, and slowly said, "Humans, kneel." He came before the two men, crossed his arms, and then asked, "Have the ruins of this city been found yet?" The older man didn't dare to delay, and immediately said, "One relic has been identified. In addition, a giant mutated creature has appeared opposite Mount Lai." Hearing the older man speak, the young man also nodded in agreement, silently listening. From afar, all the questions from before were answered. Looking at the three of them, Lin Hao thought, as expected, the mutated creature from before was awakened by their organization colluding with extraterrestrials. Could it be that these aliens really want to turn Earth into their hunting ground? The blue superhero, having heard what he wanted to hear, said, "After I destroy these ships, you will take me there to see." As he spoke, a self-destruct button appeared in his hand. The older man, seeing this, smiled, but in his heart he felt sorry for the ship. Although it was regrettable, he could only smile and nod. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Hao heard the word destroy, and immediately frowned. This thing can't be destroyed so easily. If it's destroyed, it will hide a lot of their information. I have to stop them. He immediately charged out like an arrow, aiming straight for the blue superhero with his sharp teeth and incredible speed. When they realized what was happening, they didn't even have time to react. But unexpectedly, the blue superhero reacted so quickly. With just a simple dodge, he was able to avoid Lin Hao's attack. After avoiding the attack, the blue superhero quickly counterattacked, gathering ice arrows in his hand and aiming them at him. Lin Hao quickly used his hands and body to block the attacks. The tough scales on his body rang out, blocking the blows. Seeing that his attacks had no effect, the blue superhero immediately released a laser sword from his wrist and charged towards him with the speed of light, swinging the sword in a slash. The speed was incredibly fast. Fortunately, Lin Hao dodged the attack, the sword only a few millimeters away. After dodging, Lin Hao quickly used his agile body to counterattack, whipping his tail in a circle then striking the alien in the abdomen. The force sent him flying, his sword clattering to the ground. He crashed to the ground with a loud boom, dust swirling around him. The two men still didn't understand what had happened. After realizing the situation, the older man saw the red creature and hurriedly shouted, "It's a flood dragon." The blue superhero quickly stood up and activated his helmet to scan information about the creature. Combat power 1001. He muttered, then exclaimed in shock, "Combat power 1245, how is that possible?" After seeing the data, He was very shocked. He quickly picked up the sword. As soon as he looked up, he saw the creature charging towards him. "You dare to be careless while fighting me?" Lin Hao shouted. The blue superhero wasn't willing to be outdone. He took a stance and leaped into the air, swinging his sword down at Lin Hao's head. "This time, you're dead for sure," he shouted. Lin Hao calmly watched him approach, then opened his mouth and shot flames toward him. Seeing the flames approaching, the alien quickly retreated. "This temperature doesn't affect me," he shouted. "So what if this creature can breathe fire? With such high combat power, its attack power is only this much." He seized the opportunity when Lin Hao wasn't paying attention and immediately leaped up, delivering a headbutt. The sword struck the mutated creature's head, but it seemed to have no effect. As soon as he sensed the sword approaching, Lin Hao had quickly activated his skill, Black Iron Scales. "You think your useless sword can split my head open? Dream on." "I clearly used all my strength." But why didn't it have any effect? Realizing he couldn't harm Lin Hao, he immediately leaped back, creating distance between them. "This is too dangerous. I didn't expect him to be able to block my attack without being hurt." The blue superhero held his sword, countless questions appearing in his mind. "Damn it. Why is this mutated creature's body so hard?" Lin Hao saw his helpless expression and smiled. "You were just trying to wake me up. The effect wasn't bad. It's not that your power is the problem, it's just that you aren't too strong." Seeing the disdain on the creature's face, the blue superhero quickly became enraged and activated his armor's overdrive mode. He then charged towards Lin Hao with lightning speed. "It must be because I didn't use enough strength earlier," he muttered. Then, with lightning speed, he leaped up again, swinging the sword from above, repeating the same move. Lin Hao was surprised by his actions but realized that something was different. The speed and strength have both increased. He quickly returned to a serious combat state. His entire body was engulfed in flames, forming a sphere. The roar shook the area. The blue superhero, having never seen such a sight before, was panicked. He immediately froze for 5 seconds and exclaimed, "What? What is that?" The flash of light made it impossible for his eyes to open wide enough to observe. Seizing the opportunity, Lin Hao swished his tail, unleashing a powerful sweep. The fiery attack struck the blue superhero, knocking him away. However, the blue superhero, having learned from the previous attack, quickly seized the opportunity to counter. Holding his sword tightly, he swung a blow straight at Lin Hao. "You think you can knock me away again?" he shouted. "No way," not letting him have another chance to strike his head with the sword. Lin Hao immediately raised his claws and struck. The red flames flew with wind, splitting speed. Before the powerful attack, the blue superhero's sword was sent flying, plunging into the ground. Pressing his advantage, Lin Hao immediately stepped on the blue superhero's body, his red eyes blazing. "If you're so tough, get up and fight again," he warned. "I'll put you down for good." He approached him. "Tell me, what are you guys planning? These monstrous things keep coming to Earth, awakening creatures and killing them. It's so annoying." The blue superhero was shocked to see that the creature before him could speak. He frowned and shouted, "You can talk." "I've been talking so much, but you were too busy fighting to listen," Lin Hao replied angrily, striking his body. "Answer my question." "Why ask back? Did you come to Earth to serve your master and upgrade the hunting ground?" The blue superhero still hadn't processed what was happening. He frowned, looking in shock at the creature before him, remaining silent. "This guy actually has a brain to reason with," he thought. "It's best to remain silent. I can't beat him out anyway." Lin Hao frowned, looking at him. "I guessed right," he thought. "Normally, if you ask, and they don't answer, it's just nonsense that hits the mark. This expression is 100 because I guessed right." After knocking down the blue superhero, Lin Hao's question was met with silence, which he took as agreement. The blue superhero sat slumped on the ground, his eyes wide, staring at the red-scaled flood dragon before him. He clenched his fists, grinding his teeth, and roared, "So what if you know?" Lin Hao glanced at him without speaking. The blue superhero, seeing the flood dragon's silence, grew bolder and shouted, "You inferior creatures will all be hunted down by me sooner or later." Before he could finish, he was suddenly grabbed by the claws of the flood dragon. In that instant, he panicked and screamed. His body was lifted, his feet no longer touching the ground. He quickly grabbed Lin Hao's arm, hoping to break free, but it was useless. A feeling of unease overwhelmed him, constricting his breath. "What are you going to do?" he struggled to say. Through the gaps in the claws, he saw the flames surrounding the flood dragon's arm. The heat was gradually increasing, slowly spreading to his face. Sweat poured down his face. He abandoned his initial arrogance and began to panic, stammering, "You. Let me go. I can help you evolve." He thought that if this creature had intelligence, it would definitely want to evolve to become stronger. Lin Hao's entire body was like molten lava, burning fiercely. He smirked, revealing his sharp teeth, and repeated the blue superhero's words, "You let me go. I can help you evolve." The blue superhero thought that Lin Hao, being low level, needed his help. He didn't realize that Lin Hao was mocking him. Angrily, Lin Hao threw the blue superhero into the air, took a deep breath, and spat out a massive fireball. "Who are you calling an inferior creature?" he shouted. The flames engulfed the blue superhero. After a few seconds, the smell of burnt meat filled the air. When the smoke and fire dissipated, the blue superhero lay on the ground, no longer able to scold Lin Hao. Lin Hao approached and began his meal. He opened his mouth wide and devoured each piece of meat. Because the meat was freshly grilled, it was quite hot, causing him to blow on it as he ate. While he was eating, the system panel appeared. Completed difficult quest, devour tier 4 warrior. Received evolution points. Reward, purple treasure chest. With a piece of meat still in his mouth, he looked at the news while chewing, muttering, "Although it's a bit disgusting, this is evolution points." He finished chewing the last piece. Lin Hao approached the treasure chest, smiling. He rubbed his hands together, preparing to open the chest. 200,000 evolution points, and a purple treasure chest. Let's see what it get. While he was happily opening the chest, behind him, the two organization men, after witnessing the entire event, quickly made a run for it, trying to avoid being discovered. But Lin Hao didn't relax his vigilance. As soon as they intended to run, he sensed it. He quickly glanced over. From behind, the flood dragon realized the two were running and quickly took a deep breath, exhaling a stream of fire as hot as lava toward them. They couldn't react in time. With just one fire breath, he made both of them lie writhing on the ground, unable to move. Lin Hao approached. Both of them were unconscious. I was planning to get closer to interrogate them to gather more information, he thought. It was hard to capture them alive. It would be a waste to let them go. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a car engine approaching from afar. He glanced over and saw headlights shining brightly, heading this way. If that's the case, then it's so good. I still have many questions I want to ask you. I have to leave before anyone arrives. He approached where the blue superhero was lying and reached out to grab the blue quartz onto his chest. Then he looked at the spaceship and smiled. Too bad you can't take it with you. If you want to destroy the spaceship, you have to ask me first. Realizing that the convoy ahead was getting closer, he quickly made a run for it. Even if it's just the combat armor, it's not a loss, he thought. Consider this trip to have yielded spoils of war. As for the spaceship and the two guys, I'll leave them for the people coming to deal with. When the convoy stopped, they discovered the giant UFO in the clearing. From inside the vehicle, Luoxu quickly recognized it. She pointed and said to the armored man, "Right there. That's the spaceship that the news mentioned, isn't it?" Following her direction, the armored man nodded. Luoxu, full of excitement, quickly opened the door and stepped out. She reached into her lab coat and strode forward. The man got out of the car, looking around at the unusually quiet scenery. From afar, a voice called out, "Be careful. This is like the calm before the storm. It's better to be cautious." After approaching and seeing no obstacles, Luoxu looked around and said, "It seems the Ets aren't here." The man felt it was strange. "A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows," he said. "These failures came to Earth to destroy the spaceship first. The ship is still intact, so why are the Ets nowhere to be seen?" Looking left and right again, there was still no one. Luoxu pondered, her eyes narrowed. Maybe the inside of the spaceship was destroyed, so the Ets couldn't appear. While they were discussing, a subordinate picked up a remote control from the ground. "There's a remote control here," he shouted. Hearing this, both quickly turned to him. The subordinate handed it over. The armored man curiously looked at the remote control. "This is the first time I've seen this. What's it used for?" Luoxu stood nearby, observing. Then, as if she had guessed, she said, "Maybe this is a detonation device." The answer immediately startled both of them. "So, that's it. We almost pressed the self-destruct button." Seeing their expressions, Luoxu continued, "If the detonation device is still intact, it's possible that the spaceship is still working well. It's obviously not detonated." The man was extremely surprised. He glanced at the UFO and shouted, "Are you serious?" The subordinate didn't find the logic very satisfying. He turned to Luoxu and said, "You mean they didn't have time to press the detonation button and ran away immediately? That's impossible. It sounds too illogical." Luoxu didn't speak, walking forward a few steps. "It's not that they ran away," she said slowly, "but that they were attacked." Hearing her words, both were once again stunned. Attack? Who could attack them? Seeing her standing in place, both ran over to check. Sure enough, there were traces left on the ground. She turned and said it was attacked by a mutated creature. If so, then everything makes more sense. The man stroked his chin, indicating that he understood. Following the footprints, the size of the creature could be 10 to 20 meters. With such big feet, the shape can't be smaller. What kind of creature is it? He observed again. Luoxu said, "There are signs of burning around. If it's not due to special equipment, then this mutated creature can emit fire." The man, hearing her analysis, panicked. Could there be such a powerful mutated creature in this area? I've never heard a report about this before. He observed again. Moreover, there are no footprints indicating that it left here. Luoxu, hearing this, also quickly realized that something was wrong. Similar to the man's speculation, she lowered her head, looking at the footprints on the ground, her eyes wide. She had a speculation in her heart. Could it be? The subordinate nearby discovered the two men and quickly approached to check on them. After realizing that they were still breathing, he turned and shouted, "These two are still alive. We can ask them what happened." The man, hearing this, was overjoyed. "Great. Bring both the spaceship and these two back." Luoxu remained silent, letting the man handle everything. After ordering his subordinates to take the two away, the man turned to her with joy. "This time the harvest is great. Let's go back quickly." In contrast to the man's joy, Luoxu crossed her arms, pondering. "Wait." After observing many times, she turned to the man and said, "This shape, and it emits golden flames. Don't you find it familiar?" The man seemed to realize. He seriously said to her, "Are you talking about the mutated creature from before? If so, then it's true that it can be associated with it." After analyzing many times, Luoxu said, "As for the two unconscious people just now, those two must be members of the little organization. Right? They were left alive, and the spaceship is also intact. Only the 8 disappeared. What free lunch is there? It must have been my boyfriend who intervened." The man, after hearing her analysis, seemed to have awakened. He exclaimed in shock, "That's right. In that case, it seems that the mutated creature is helping us. But according to the records, it's only about 13 meters tall." After saying this, the man suddenly became unusually silent. He frowned and said, "Could it be?" Luoxu didn't let him wait long. "That's right," she said, observing the footprints. "It's evolving." The man, hearing this, exclaimed in panic, "No, this can't be. Public affairs are public affairs, and private affairs are private. Helping the dragon team is one thing, but evolving so quickly. What am I going to tell the boss? Oh my god."